Good evening, everybody. It is another regular Wednesday broadcast for the American Ricci Mahjong League. Nathaniel here, joined with special guest Edwin, who is currently in B1 and, of course, league founder. It's always awesome to have Edwin in the broadcast booth. How is it going?
Oh, it's going all right. I think in some ways I'm still trying to get transitioned back to being in the States.
Yeah, you've been gone for a while. What was it, a month-long trip to Japan?
Yeah, pretty much 1 month.
And I know you had a lot of mahjong action there. I, of course, want to hear all about it, but we do have a very intriguing matchup tonight. It's going to be a C1 matchup, and we'll have Nathan, Kevin, Jackson, and the substitute player Vinny, I believe, is also going to be playing tonight. Um, we have 4 games queued up from this table, most likely, but I know there's a few other games scheduled later on, so we might just catch 2 of these and then swap over to another table. But I mean, these players have been doing quite well. Nathan currently in the 3rd place overall at plus 151, comfortably in the promotion zone. Kevin has been also doing fairly strongly in C1 at 7th place overall, just outside the promotion zone currently. But of course, with the hiatus situation, there's always a couple extra slots in the C1 division. And I'm hearing a gong, which means that the game is starting. It will be Jackson, our first dealer, Vinny to the right, Kevin across the table, and Nathan on our left. Starting us off, Jackson as dealer has the backbone of an Itsu and the Pinzu, decent shape in the Sozu, and some floaters in the Manzu. Hoping for the Itsu really, but we'll just see what comes. Any win as dealer is great. To the right, there is a Dora East in hand, as well as good shapes for Tanya. So that's going to be an interesting question for Vinny. How long do we hold onto this East? Across the way, Kevin has 2 completed shapes already, so it could be a Ricci Pifu type hand. And on the left, Nathan also with excellent shapes, 2 completed, and Diamond shape in the Sozu as well. Maybe even 1, 2, 3 Sanchoku.
Now, actually, just to clarify here, if I believe I have this right, Vinny is a sub, but he subbed in for somebody who actually did not even start the season. So we have to get them into the standing sheet, but I believe they're actually active.
Excellent. Yeah, I was wondering about that because I noticed Vinny had played 13 games, which is just as, the same amount as all these other players. And if they started at the beginning of the season, it's quite likely that they would qualify for promotion and whatnot. So we can't see their name in the scores to the right, but if they are indeed eligible for that, then they will get added in. And of course, we would love to reflect that in these standings as well. And of course, these hands have been progressing pretty nicely. Looking at Nathan on the left, already Ishanted very wide. So many tiles will give you tempai there for a good weight as well. But it's Kevin who gets there first. As expected, a Ricci Penfu waiting on 6-9 Mon, where the 6 Mon also gives you Sanchoku, and there it goes. Nathan had just run into Tempai and deals into Patsu, Ricci, Patsu, Sanchoku, and the Ura. And that is a Hanemon. Great start for Kevin.
That is huge to start, and unfortunate for Nathan there is, like you said, they had just gotten Tempai, so.
Yeah, I mean, looking at these players, Nathan only has a 7.4% deal-in rate, very conservative, and a very strong win rate. It's not surprising that Nathan is the 3rd player overall in the standings. Kevin just had more expensive a hand than you'd be expecting for a Ricci like that. Not always expecting to get a deal into Hanemon right there. But yeah, that's
and just to kind of fill in the circle for Vinny, just so that everybody here who's watching understands where his situation is. He has played 13 games. His score is currently negative 79.6, which kind of puts him below what you can see at least on the standings table. There are 32. There's like in that division.
approximately 30 people in C1, right?
Well, there were there's 24 people in the division, so he's
Gotcha.
currently sitting in 21st at this point.
Okay. So not quite in contention, but I mean, there's still the whole second half of the season. In fact, this table hasn't played any of their games yet, so they will be potentially playing all evening long. And just scanning the hands there, they all look pretty strong here. The one that catches my eye is Kevin's on the right with those two Dora, the Haku, in hand. We haven't seen any drawn from around the table, but of course, you imagine if it gets discarded, there will be an
Each.
immediate pawn. Jackson calls the Ricci. On the left, it is Ricci Penfu, waiting on 3/6 Mon. There are 4 of those left in the wall. And this could be trouble for Nathan, who could find Tempai right there, did not call for it, instead draws into Tempai and might just chase this down, even though one East and one Hatsu has been discarded already. Would you take this Ricci?
It'd be hard because you don't have the Dora and you don't see the you don't see the Dora, so that is an unfortunate deal in there. I'm not quite sure. You think that might have been a timeout there?
My guess is timeout. Yeah, Manzu did not look particularly safe, and I'm sure Nathan was weighing, whether or not the 5-mon was passable or not, especially given what just happened the last time he found Tempai right after a Ricci. Could have been dealing to Patsu. Turns out the 5-mon would have passed, but I think having spent that time thinking about it, the 6 just fell out of hand as the timer ran out. And unfortunately, the 6-mon has been a killer tile for Nathan in this game. They are not out of it yet by any stretch of the imagination. A couple good hands so they can get right back to this game. And there's an early Hatsu call. Nathan will be attempting to just move this dealership forward and get their first dealership in East 4. But Jackson's not going to let this go quickly, or quietly, I should say. Calls the tune back, and this is Ishan 10 already for Jackson for a 1,000 point hand.
Yeah, and in those cases, sometimes, especially with a shorter timer that Tenho provides, it doesn't necessarily hurt just to discard and then think about it for one more turn. If you decide that maybe you want to take the Tempai and then discard the 5-mon, you could always just do what most people do and just do the wait one turn Ricci at that point.
Right, yeah. The wait one turn Ricci is always so interesting. There are some players who I've noticed really commit to it. I think Simon in A2 actually I've noticed does it quite frequently. And a lot of players will absolutely reject that, say you should never wait one turn Ricci, or almost never. The scenarios that involve doing that are very limited. It was quite interesting to see how different players have different opinions on that. Our dealer is Ishanten now after that pawn, trying to match the speed of this table. Will just be Tanyao only for 1,500. And so only one closed player left, that's Vinny on the left, but that hand doesn't look like it's very fast at all.
No, got a couple of Kanchan waits, so unless they can fill those in rather quickly, I would imagine they'd probably just try to be careful around this hand.
And speaking of Kanchan weights, Jackson just found Tempai on the Con 5-mon, and it comes out. It didn't really fit very well into Vinny's hand, and so that will press us forward. 1,000 points going to Jackson, and it will be Nathan's first dealership. What do you make of this, Hi-Pi?
You can easily just make a Yakuhai out of this, if nothing else, and just call it down, especially since you don't see Dora, and you already have a majority of your shapes. So you can either wait this out or you can call it down depending upon what you think the rest of the table is doing. Because, like, for instance, if Vinny calls the Haku there at some point in time, then you just may go ahead with yours, with your hand.
And you bring up Vinny. Looking at that hand, it almost looks like it wants to be a Soul Honitsu, but then Vinny filled in the 3-5 block, which isn't an amazing one, but it gives you an excuse to keep this 5-mon as a floater to accept Dora. Do you think Vinny will commit to Honitsu here? I mean, technically this is Ishanten.
Yeah, but okay, so now you've seen dealer call, and so you may just want to get this done ASAP. The 7-pin's really a hedge. I mean, you were going to discard it anyways, so really you could still continue flexing either way.
Ooh.
Yeah, that 3 would not be called for a pawn. That would make the hand really awkward. I mean, you could be Tempai, but then it's Kanchan 4-mon, and that's not exactly the best tile to be waiting on.
Yeah, an interesting thought is pawn the 3-so, assuming that players will then discard the 2-so, and then you can wait on 1 Sotanki.
Now that's an interesting call there because it's like I suppose you can draw around the 8 so, but like that can still get yourself a little bit awkward there.
Boom.
Yeah, but it really does look like Vinny is committing here, and even calls the two so. That one is a little more surprising to me than the eight so call. It does leave you with some very awkward shapes, but that it does allow you to chi a two so, the final two so back into Tenpai, as well as you still have the ability to draw around the eight so
Boom.
for Tenpai as well.
The idea of calling now and figuring it out later. I mean, this is really figuring out later because usually if you figure it out later, you have a general idea of where you're supposed to go with this. This one a little bit less so because it almost seems like you're going to end up on a Tonki. And to that extent, Vinny has hedged basically now waiting. Looks like we're going to wait East Tonki, but now they're switching that too.
Yeah, and this is an interesting point. I didn't get the chance to mention this, but Nathan at the very beginning of the hand had East, White Dragon, pair of Green Dragon, Red Dragon, and was thinking about which honor to cut. Decided to keep the East just in case it got paired up because it is double East and is getting rewarded here. Now has a 3-Han hand as dealer. Just Ishan 10 needs to find another block. In the meantime, Jackson on the right has called twice.
It's 3-Han hand, but it could technically be more if they have time, but they don't have time anymore.
Right. There's Tenpai across the way now. And now Tenpai for Nathan, so it's a battle. 3-6 so across the way versus just this 2-mon for dealer.
Now he can switch if he gets another Pinzu, and then it's really worth more. And pushes the 5 so knowing that it might pay in across the way.
Yeah, and should be noted the Tenpai on the right is not for a Yaku, so.
And see, now you can switch to the west, and this is Mongon now.
Yeah, this is very dirty. It's turned into Honitsu all of a sudden. Double East, Hatsu, Honitsu. Khan flipping the west to be Dora. This is Hanuman now.
Oh no.
And west is once cut, but west is also dangerous to the Honitsu that's across the table as well.
Would be dangerous to the Honitsu as well, yes. What would happen is if they draw the west, that's where never mind. forget theoretical.
Yeah, I see exactly where you're going with that. It was going to be a west Tonki wait for both players most likely, but in this case, dealer Hanuman, and we said Nathan is not out of it even with those 2 early deal-ins. All of a sudden, the scores are back to basically even, and it's actually Vinny who is in 4th place, having not had the opportunity to do very much in this game.
The thing is that we talked about Vinny calling and then trying to figure out what to do later. In that case, unfortunately, you probably hurt them because they got to the point where they drew the 2 so it's like, well, I've already discarded the 1. There's nothing else I can do with this other than con it, and then it ended up unfortunately giving dealer an extra, turning it from a Mongon to a Hanuman. So that's where it can kind of get you into trouble, especially if you don't really have a firm plan later on.
Right. I mean, Vinny did get to Tenpai with decent value and a relatively good weight. And so the con could also help them out, Rinshan, or flip some door for themselves. It just turned out to help Nathan out more in this instance, as that double-edged nature of cons. But here we're going to see an early recheat from Vinny. This is on the east and the 1 pin.
The weight is the weight's technically dead as long as those 1 pins stay in the hands.
You're right, I didn't know both the east have been cut already. And unfortunately, you really want to win on the east for the extra value, but in this case, it's Richi Dora 1, so minimum 2,600 plus the home buff, of course.
It looks like Nathan with that 3-mon discard is going to bail this hand, so you may not see that 1 pin come out, at least from there.
Yeah, we noted.
So then the question then becomes whether or not Kevin will discard that.
And Jackson's pushing here. This called for Tanyao Tenpai on the 2-5 pin. 4 pin makes the 1 pin Suji. But 7 pin is Genbutsu.
As long as there's other tiles that they can discard, it should be fine. But yes, there could be a danger with that 1 pin. Yeah, there it goes. You're right.
It felt like it was bound to come out. We'll check the Uda. Nothing massive here, just 2,900 points. It does tighten up the race for 3rd and 4th place here.
Switches places, actually.
It does, yeah. Vinny has now taken 3rd place. Oh goodness, this high pie for Jackson. 9 unique in a pair?
Yeah, it's a bit uncomfortable because it's not like as if you can easily pivot to, like, say, just like a Yakuhai or something like that. Like here, you can continue maybe hedging towards a Chanta if things don't work out, so you can discard either of the fives.
Yeah, it looks like
And you have the Dora one pin as well,
Mhm.
so
And that's where I almost want to go Chanta because I have the South pair and I have Adora, which could be used for Chanta, and I have two different Chanta blocks. So I have actually enough blocks for the Chanta here. It's difficult to make that decision, but I'm more inclined to play for a normal hand when I'm dealer.
Oh, and see, here's the other thing too. If you keep that 7 pin, discard the 5. Yeah, you get backfires if you get the 6, but if you get the 8 or the 9, now you're even looking at Sanchoku opportunities as well.
Well, there's another Kokushi draw, so we'll see if Jackson can pull it off. The hand to the right
Yeah,
looks like
the 7 mon is a commit at this point.
absolutely. I would even call the Tuso a commit that early on. But we see the hand to the right is leaning towards a 1-2-3 Sanchoku. Across the way, we have Kevin. Not a whole lot here outside of just a Ricci, and there's a door in hand, but a lot of bad shapes to fill. And then on the left, we have Ichihime working
That's a
on.
good Kanchan fill right there.
Yeah, do we drop the 9 pin and take the Diankan or Ishanten? Diamen, Diankan, Ishanten. Looks very good for a Ricci from Nathan pretty soon.
Draw actually made it kind of interesting, I think, already, because you could have theoretically possibly been able to pivot to um, some type of possible Sanchoku, but doesn't look like it matters now. They're going to go ahead and take the Kanchan 5 pin. But but the thing is, if you had paired the 8, so there's a possibility you could have gone for 6, 7, 8 at that point.
Yeah, I agree. What do you think of this taking the 5 pin weight versus the 7 pin weight here?
Um, I can see why they might think that that's not great, because first of all, 2 7s are out, and second, people don't necessarily trust the Ricci, Suji Ricci. Problem I see here is that there's only one person. There was only one person at the time that looked like they didn't need middle Pinzu, and that would have been Dealer. But Dealer could easily just give up here if they need to at this point, and you knew they were going for Kokushi.
We see a chase, but this is on Hellweight 8 so from Kevin.
Which is dead, actually.
Yeah, does not realize that Nathan has the last one in hand, perhaps relying on the fact that it's Genbutsu to the first reach and that Sozu looks very cheap to those players, or to Nathan specifically. And so...
And Jackson's trying to continue with this Kokushi still.
There's the 7 pin. 2 6s
You see
down.
3 6s. You see 3 6s, so technically it'd be a 1 chance at that point.
Right. But yeah, Jackson finally bows out of it. Does have lots of save tiles now.
Yeah, this means that you're probably never seeing the 5 pin unless it comes out, unless Kevin draws it.
Vinny had a chance to lean towards Ishanten and then maybe drop the 5 pin later, but also seems to be backing out safely here. So there's the 5 pin.
There's a sumo.
Last one found with the sumo. No Ura, but Nathan back into third.
Yeah, we're south too, and despite the start that we had, we're still relatively close at this point.
Yeah, Vinny now the dealer has a Dora in hand as well as 2 Diamond shapes. Diamond +1. You can think of it that way. Call from Nathan Crossway on the east with a Dora in hand just wants to pick up 2,000 points and move over 30,000. Perhaps even take second place over Jackson.
Yeah, some of the shapes aren't necessarily great, which is probably the reason why you're calling this and just trying to push it forward.
Right, and I mean, you really don't want to allow any time for Vinny to go on a bit of a dealer run here. So ending the dealership seems to make a lot of sense here. Kevin on the right has the pair of Hatsu. Hasn't come out, so no chance to call just yet.
Now here's an interesting thing. That 5-mon came out from Kevin's hand. Nathan didn't call it, but in theory, wait, could you? Because you called 4-6. Yeah, if you called it, you called 4-6. Now you have 5-6. You could have discarded like the 1-2 pin,
Right.
And it kind of improved your weights that way.
Right, you're headless.
Probably something they weren't thinking of, but that's definitely something to think of.
Right. Yeah, not having a pair in hand isn't necessarily the worst thing in the world. Of course, it's better to be headless when you have more tiles in your hand that could become pairs, but oh, interesting. Yeah, Nathan committing to the 1-2 cut, holding the Shah, perhaps thinking about calling Khan later.
And the other thing, is I think this is correct because at that point you're not
Come.
you weren't necessarily going to improve like anybody else's hand possibly with that because you're still not close. I mean, you're not even Ishan 10 at this point, right?
Well, with that
So
9 pin actually could have been Ishanten.
could have been.
Yeah,
But the sevens just I think the seven is a bit awkward.
right. It's just feels uncomfortable to drop the door this late.
Gee.
You need a 7 anyway for that.
And that's what I mean. Like the whole doing the con thing, especially with everybody else who was closed at the time, you could have an issue with that later on down the line. If you were close at a tempo, I could understand you doing that call or doing the con there.
Yeah, we're very call heavy now. Nathan now Ishan 10. Jackson makes a call here that doesn't changes to Ishan 10 here for Jackson. So looking for 4-7 Mon, 5-8 pin. And this is Tempai, but that means Nathan will have to drop the Dora, which could be called by Jackson.
Yeah, that will be called, and now it's a 4-7 versus 5-8.
All right, there's a 4. That does not fit into Kevin's hand, but Kevin knows that there's Tempai on the board, and Monzu doesn't look very safe.
Yeah, wisely keeps it. Like you have the lead. You know, there's a lot of Dora sitting out there, mostly that you can't see. You already know that one of the players has it, and now you have a Ricci, so you should be fully out at this point.
Yeah, it's awkward though. The Hatsu hasn't been seen yet. Where is it? You would have expected it to come out by now. Normally that would be one of your safer tiles. Drops the 5 so instead. With all the so many of the 6s gone, felt like that was a half Suji with the 2 so and then 1 chance on the other side. Oh, actually, could see the other 6 too, so it was full Kabe at that point. Makes a lot of sense. And then for the 7 pin weight, there are 2 remaining in the wall, which is more than you'd expect at this point of the game.
Although again, it's one of those things where it's Ricci to the Suji, so it's like, you know, how many people are just gonna not drop it if they draw it just because of that?
Yeah, if you're Jackson, what do you do if you draw a 7 pin? Do you just keep pushing, or do you go 8 mon, 8 mon?
Well, unfortunately, you draw the 7 pin, and you have to choose between either. You're screwed either way.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
That will deal it to Nathan, and as we predicted, or as we thought had a chance, it is actually Nathan stealing away the 2nd place even, and almost taking first, 200 points shy of that market. We're in South 3, so everyone's looking at their point totals. Kevin, as dealer, 200 points in first place. Nathan to the right, 200 points behind, and the battle for 3rd and 4th place is relatively close between Jackson and Vinny. 2,400 points separate those players.
And I mean, all the other all those 3rd place and 4th place, so all that Jackson and Vinny needs to do is if they somehow get a manga and sumo here, they are in either 2nd place or in 1st place.
Right. Yeah, even Mangan Sumo from Vinny, who is in 4th place now, would be enough for 1st. So very clear goals around this table. Interesting call from Jackson. We know Jackson likes to call, has a 50% call rate, so very active in that regard. Can call the final tune for Yaku, but currently, with that being the door indicator, it is somewhat limited.
I mean, I think at this point you're expecting. Well, I was expecting them to go Hatsu or Haku Tanki, but I mean, you're pretty much Adazuke at this point.
Right. Yeah, relying on the tune. And maybe there was a thought to go for the pin Honitsu, but in that situation, you probably would have kept the 7 pin or even the White Dragon over this 4-5-6 so block. And so just committing to the Adazuke on the tune, we'll need that to come out at some point, and in the meantime...
The other thing they could theoretically get away with here is Itsu.
You're right. That could actually happen. They would need to draw 4 pin and 9 pin.
Well, they don't need to draw it. They could call it.
That's true. Yeah, if you draw the 4 pin too early, you have Furiten issues. So calling it avoids the Fudi 10, and also drawing the 9-pin first avoids the Fudi 10 as well. I see the player on the left, Vinny, is Ishanten, with potentially a very interesting one-mon, one-so shampoo weight. Kevin, our dealer, also Ishanten with another very wide weight, hoping for Tanyao Pinfu. Ichihime, Nathan on the right, also Ishanten. So many players just need one tile to find the Tenpai, and Kevin will get there first. We'll take the Diamond weight for Pinfu, and almost Sanchoku there. So close.
There should be a call here, I think, and you discard Tuso, probably?
Lets it pass, but draws the
Decides not to
tune
take it.
instead. Now, which weight do you take here?
Yeah, discards the Tuso. So technically it's the same thing, just different there. And the 5 actually works here.
Yeah,
It
either
works out after all.
found Tenpai, but either discard that you had to make for it would deal in. So that means Jackson will put a little bit more space between him and fourth place, and we go into all last. It is Nathan the dealer trying to, actually is in first place after Kevin lost the Ricci stick, and so trying to maintain this lead.
Unfortunately, you can't just necessarily sit here because no 10 payments could put you into second, and so you have to probably win this hand or hope that somebody else, not Kevin, wins this hand.
Right, and that just incentivizes Nathan to call the tune and continue the dealership in some regard.
And the hand's actually pretty good just to do that, just to take the 1500 and move on.
Right, we'll see if Jackson has something to say about this. The hand on the right has 2 Dora, and that could potentially be, Ricci Tsumo Dora 2 is a Mongon that would easily pass for first place. And the shapes are pretty good in that hand, okay?
They're certainly not bad. I think the issue is like it looks like your final weight, unless you get lucky, is going to be 1-pin 8-so. So that could end up being a bit problematic later on.
Yeah, but as far as the high pie is concerned, you look at that fairly optimistically. Hope that you draw the 7-so and make your play easy.
Or you get an Anko of either.
Yeah, those would be excellent as well. Here's the tune. There's the call for Tenpai. Which weight do you take, the Shabo or the Kanchan? I think I like the Shabo personally, even though the Tuso is once cut, because I have some really nice upgrades in the Pinzu that allow me to incorporate Dora later.
Yeah, fair. I think the only thing is, if you did wait on the Kanchan 3-so, or 3-mon, the only upgrade would be getting the 5.
And of course, there it is. Edwin, I remember the first time we broadcast.
How long has it been since I've called something like that?
I know. Yeah, I remember our first broadcast. It seemed like every hand whatever you said had a possibility of happening would get drawn into hand. And here we go again. It's been too long.
So 3-6 could have been the weight if they decided to take the Kanchan weight, because the only possible upgrade was the 5-mon.
Yeah, well, there still is 1 2-so and 1 6-pin the wall, as well as lots of pin tiles that can be drawn to improve that shape.
It's actually surprising, because if you looked out there, you'd think that people would be holding Pinzu, and not many of them were. So
there it is. There's the 6-pin, and so we will see the Tsumo 1500 picked up, net 2000 gain on all of the players. It's actually really important here, and we will.
Yeah, but actually, it's still not enough, because let's just imagine here that he goes no 10, and there's 2 people Tenpai, and one of them happens to be Kevin. It's still second place.
Right, but it does give you some breathing room in the sense that if Kevin were to win 2,000 points off of any other player, even with the Homba, it wouldn't be enough to overtake. So,
well, unfortunately, Kevin's hand is easily worth more than 2,000.
Absolutely, with those 2 Dora in there, Kevin definitely has a chance. Jackson just trying to go for Honitsu here with the Chun Anko already. Calls Pon on the 9-pin and can even do the same on the 8-pin should that leave anyone's hand. Although it looks like Kevin would be the only player to discard that.
It won't be enough to take second, but at least it would be enough to go over 30. They would get second if they won off of Kevin.
Yeah, but Sumo or direct hit off of Kevin would be enough for second place. Certainly worth pushing for with his hand. Toyman's hand looks quite nice as well for Vinny. And Vinny needs a good hand. some reasonable shapes here. It could be like Ricci, Penfu, Dora 1. Maybe you get Tanyao as well. Oh, look at that sick draw for Kevin. Another Dora connector. And that hands Ishan 10.
Very to Ishan 10 too. If only one of the 9-1's out, so it's going to be less of a tricky wait there at the end. But
yeah, well, might end up getting faced with the same decision that Nathan had earlier. Do you take the Shabo wait with one of your tiles once cut, or do you take a Kanchan? In this instance, the Kanchan is maybe a little worse because one of those tiles is out. So we'll see what happens if Kevin draws a 4 or 7. With a 4-mon draw, you don't even need to reach though. You have Ipeco. With a 2-so draw, you can also Dama your Pinfudora too. Although, of course, in a league setting, sometimes you're incentivized to take the Ricci for extra points. I don't know what the right play is in this situation.
for which?
You know, to Dama for the extra win rate, perhaps, or to take the Ricci, if you have the chance to Dama for Kevin.
I think if you don't need to Rishi, it's probably best because A, you're not putting 1,000 points on the table, and B, if Domitan is enough for you to win, then just not notifying the table at all of your status is best.
These hands have been so slow in progressing. Nathan finally drawing a helpful tile here. Actually committing immediately, dropping away from the Yankan shape. Does not want to have to draw Dora later and not be able to use it.
Vinny's going to be stuck for a while because 3 of the 9 pins that they're waiting for the 6-9 wait are already called. And you already see quite a few. There's 3 9-sos discarded, 2 6-sos discarded. So, and you have to figure that some of them are being held in hand. So that hand's going to take a while for it to finish.
Yeah, 2 very interesting things happened. The 5 pin came out from Kevin, was not called for Tempai by Nathan, and the 9-mon comes out. Kevin does call that for Tempai, even though there's no Yaku here. Kevin says that I can be Tempai at the end of this game, at the end of this hand, and if dealer is not, then I get first.
Yeah, the question is, are you? Are you going to be Tempai?
Exactly. And there's the Dora. I think we'll see a Chi here.
I think it's this late. You can't afford to have 2 people Tempai here. You have. Oh no!
Nathan passes it, and only a few draws left.
That's not good. And that doesn't help.
Jackson's also Tempai for that Onitsu hand, but it's not going to come out. 1 tile left, and we're going to
this is going to cost Nathan first place at this point.
There it is. Nathan will lose 3,000 points as the only player not in Tempai, and that means that Kevin will take first place over, plus 19 for Kevin. Nathan will grab a positive second place, which, given the position in the overall standings, is actually a fair result for Nathan. And Jackson takes the negative 5.7, and Vinny takes the negative 21.1.
Yeah, I mean, you're in the sense that they don't necessarily need the points, but I think I'm not, and maybe that's what they just decided at the end. But definitely, if nothing else, they should if they recognize that they were situationally aware of that and just decided that, I don't need to worry about it. I'll take the second because of where I'm standing in the standings. Then that's fine.
Yeah.
But definitely, at least they should be aware at least of that situation, so that in the future it'll be like, oh, I do need to call this. I do need to be Tempai right now to take this. So
yeah, in this situation, it might not matter so much the standings, but of course there are many other situations where it is extremely important, and Yukoku payments may be the difference between a promotion or not. The other thing is, with Kevin calling the 9-mon, it's difficult to read whether or not that's a call for K10 or if it's a call for Chinitsu. I don't remember what the Mon discards looked like that pond, and maybe Nathan was afraid of discarding a 4 or 7 Mon to deal to Chititsu and maybe get 4th if it's a Hanemon.
That's definitely fair.
Right. But in the end, it is Kevin taking the first place. That was actually really important for Kevin to pick up all those points. The standings haven't updated on the right However, that means that Kevin will be at 65, over 65 points, so very close to that sixth slot in the promotion zone. And they have jumped right into game number 2. It's Kevin, our first dealer, Jackson on the right, Nathan across the way, and Vinny on the left this time. And okay, for Kevin, we've got Itsu chance in the Sozu. That's the first thing that catches my eye. But also just great shapes everywhere. Just it could turn into simply a Riichi Pinfu. The door is the north. We do see one in the hand to the right. 3 pairs. I'm not necessarily convinced this is going to be Chitoi. Jackson is holding onto that north, perhaps in hopes of pairing it up for a future Riichi. Across the way, Nathan has okay shapes. The worst one is probably the 889 shape in the Sozu or the 46 Kanchan in the Pinzu, but neither of those are terrible. Could see an early Riichi if good draws come their way. And on the left, Vinny has Ishan. Yeah, that's Ishan then. But Riichi Nomi.
So winding it back a bit, if we looked at the right to Jackson, they had decided to discard the 4-pin when I thought that if they were going to discard a Pinzu, it should have been the 7. Immediately backfire with the 3. I don't know if that's because it locks in the 2-pin as their pair. I don't know if that's a Chitoi play or that's just a I'm going to go for some type of call for some Tanya hand type play. But either way, I'm not sure that the 4-pin was the correct play if they were trying to go for either. Because the 7-pin, you could easily draw the 8, and then you're not necessarily going for Tanya in that case.
Yeah, absolutely. As far as building for a standard hand is concerned, the 4-pin is much more useful in creating a block than the 7-pin because you could draw the 3-pin and make it 2-3-4 instead of just treating the 2-pin as a pair. I wonder if that was like a Chitoi play. I want to set up the Suji trap on the 7-pin later on, but I don't think we have enough pairs to really commit to something like that.
Yeah.
Chi.
Oh, Chi for Itsu from Kevin. Sato Suzuki can only win on the 9, so
Except all the 9s are actually in hand.
Oh no!
Oh, never mind.
That's the wrong
Never
one.
mind.
So the reason that I prefer the 7 so as the cut there instead of the 9 so is because the 9 so is worth 8 fu as an anko in your hand, and the 7 so is only worth 4 fu.
Yeah, especially because that was Riichi only, right?
Right. I guess you don't really get a value upgrade there on Sumo. That would only bring you to 10. So maybe that doesn't make as much difference in that instance, but if you manage to con the 9 so, then you get 16, 32 fu instead. And the con was still live. So yeah, unfortunate that happens to deal in. When the dealer calls for that Tanyao shape, you're not expecting it to be Itsu.
Here's the thing too, right? It's a call for the 4-5-6, and it's like, okay, well, I mean, if they were going for Tanya or something, they probably would call 6-7-8, right? They don't want to worry about the 9. So maybe the thought was, well, they just don't have that because otherwise they would have called it and then they wouldn't have had it anyways.
Yeah, as it is,
if you were even worried about that in the first place.
Absolutely, it was very cheap. So it's just 1,500 points and a dealer repeat. Already a very exciting hand to the right, and Jackson not committing to Honitsu, but there's 2 Dora. That is East, and the Chun is able to be called as well. And what do you think about the 1-mon cut instead of cutting 4 so and 3 so?
I guess that's a hedge. I mean, you're not losing anything necessarily by discarding the 1 if you get the 3 later on, because then it's 2, 3, 4, and then you get the 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 shape.
Right.
So I think that's where they figure they're not really losing that much, and maybe it could disguise the Honitsu for later.
Yeah,
because I mean the discards don't indicate a Honitsu, right?
You do lose a little bit on the Itsu chance, but that is nothing more than a chance. And perhaps Jackson says, well, if these comes out, I'm calling opponent, I'm going to have Mangan anyway. So I don't need to be too aggressive for Honitsu value when I've already got this great hand already.
Now, this can either be a great hedge or a great masking of the Honitsu still.
Right.
Because you can easily call one of the Yakuhai and be Tenpai just as is. Or you can push for the Honitsu. Okay. I think you might just take the Tenpai right now.
Right.
Because you can
because
pass the 3-so, but I don't know if you can feel comfortable trying to pass the 4.
I really wouldn't, but it does pass here. And yeah, Jackson does just take the tempai. It is Chundor 2 with some extra foo as well. Oh, but there's the 9 pin. Unfortunately, that just has to deal in. Not too expensive again. Richi, Pinfu, no. Oh, there's one Ura. Okay, that actually does sting a little
Yeah,
bit.
you never want to say that until you
Ah,
see
yeah,
the
you're right.
Ura.
You're right.
Just like in person, when somebody starts counting their hand before they flip over the Ura tile, it's like no, 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 no. Flip over the Ura tile, and then we can figure it out. Because you don't. The worst thing to do is to base in person is to base like, oh, it's just Richi Dora flip. Oh, Ura 3. Sorry, 12,000.
Yeah. Well,
Something like that.
sorry, Jackson. I might have just jinxed you there, but Kevin will continue this dealership. Has okay shapes. I want this to be some type of Sanchoku, either 345 or 234, and the Sozu isn't really helping me decide which one is going to be. Could just end up being a Tanyao here. To the right, Jackson has just really awkward shapes, just dumping all these terminals and honors. We'll wait to see till the end of the first row what the hand could be built into. Nathan across the way, looking towards a pin Itsu, but also could just turn into a Pinfu type hand, maybe 678 Sanchoku. And on the left, we have Vinny with somewhat of a backbone for a Mon Itsu, but that is also just really hedging that. Unless you get very nice draws, it's unlikely to happen. The tricky thing is that the 9 Mon is the door, so you'd really like to build around it.
Well, that certainly. It's still going to be awkward because you have Kanchan 2, Kanchan 8.
Right.
But I suppose you could push for it if you wanted to here.
Yeah, this is an interesting gambit from Jackson on the right. Another call for the 678 shape, and it's still very far away from being a completed hand, but has all of these honor tiles to get rid of. Really needs the 6 pin.
Yeah, that's the only issue, is the fact that you're not even confirmed for your Tanya at this point because of that 6-9. If you think you can get there faster than the others, then I can see why you'd make that push.
And well, this is a backup plan. East just came out, but there still is one more left in the wall. Could call for East, and then you can win on the 9. You could even, I don't know, call the 9 pin and just say Amatozuke. If you want to hold the East and kill your hand, be my guest. Unfortunately, that does leave you a little bit vulnerable, and here you have to make a decision. Is it going to be Tanya or is it going to be the East?
Looks like you're going to decide it's going to be the East.
Okay. In the meantime, Kevin has built this very interesting... This has to be Tempai. You can cut the 5. You can cut the 8 as well. Those are the 8.
Yeah, if you cut the 5, then... What is your weight?
It's going to be the same thing, the 2-3...
Oh, yes,
shape
it's
needs
a
to be
1-4.
filled.
It's a 1-4 regardless of what I'm saying.
Richi potentially Tonyo on the 4, and there's the pawn of the East for Tempai, and no deal, and the 5 Mon is safe, so 6-9 pin versus 1-4 Mon. Oh, chase! Vinny will get into the action here. And what is this weight? 258? Oh my goodness, that is a wide one, but so many of them have been discarded already.
This is Tenpai 2. And Will Dama on the 5-8.
Instead, the 2 Mon comes out. That was one of the last tiles remaining for this weight. But Vinny will pick up the 2,000 point hand, plus all of the Homba and all those Richi sticks. And we will advance into East 2 finally. Jackson, our dealer. 9 pin in hand, that is the Dora. Awkward shapes, but of course you just play efficiently and see what comes your way. We'll skip to the left as we see a call of the south already. And of course this could be Atozuke waiting for the east, or it could turn into a So Honitsu. Going across the table to Vinny, we have several pairs here, 3 of them, and the ability to call the Haku. With the 9 pin being the door, you're not necessarily giving up completely on the idea of this turning into a Chitoi, but a lot of times you'll just call the Haku and end up going to our Taki. And then on the right, we have Nathan with the very standard hand looking for a Richi Penfu. Maybe thinking about calling this shy. doesn't seem that advisable and does let it pass.
I mean, you could argue for it if there was if the hand was more chant-ish, but that's certainly not that.
Yeah, it looks like Jackson's probably gonna have the roughest time here putting together a hand, and that's not what you want to see on your dealer turn. Oh, what a draw. Kevin just fills the Anko of the East and had a decision to make and decided it will be a Honitsu after all. Could have thought about Toy Toy as well, but this is definitely full committal and rewarded with the 3-so draw. This is Ishanten. What would the ideal draw for Kevin be?
Well, here's interestingly, like there's only been one North discarded, so if they somehow draw another one, then they're looking at what double Yakahai Honitsu for a Mangan.
Absolutely. Things looking really good for Kevin here. Now, interestingly, Jackson's hand ended up discarding the door 9-pin earlier and is starting to actually look like a hand. You do have 2 awkward shapes in the Manzu.
Oh, realistically, the awkwardness is right now any terminal at this point. Because if you want to call to try to get this hand over and done with and try to beat Kevin to the punch, yeah, it's just going to be a bit awkward that way.
Nathan's going to get there first. As expected, the Riichi Pinfu comes into play. It is a 6-9 Mon weight, where the 6 Mon does give you Tanyao as well.
Now, you shouldn't necessarily see those 9 Mons come out from Jackson, but if they push for a Tanya, then they're definitely in trouble.
Or just
Doesn't matter though.
The Armo Mantra, and finds the Ura as well. 5,200 points plus the Riichi stick back. And Jackson will eat the Oya Kaburi. It is always painful to have a Tsumo on your dealership. You have to pay twice as much as the other players, roughly. And it will be Nathan in first place again, going into East 3. Feels like Nathan has been in this spot a lot over the course of this season of the league. This High Pie, looking for a Riichi here. Would love to accept the Dora, but nothing really guaranteed just yet. To the right, Vinny, another really awkward hand. I'm curious what you would do with Vinny's hand, because it just looks like a mess to me.
So realistically, like when you have a hand that's pretty terrible like this, the general idea, at least for me, is just to I wouldn't necessarily call it going for a Hail Mary, but just being like, okay, well, realistically, if I don't get a Yakuhai here, then maybe it's going to be a Sozu Honitsu or something like that. And then, so you just try to play for whatever hand that you think whatever faraway hand that you think you might be able to get away with. And then, whatever you're doing, just make sure you also have safe tiles to discard later on, because chances are you're probably not going to get there, and then you just want to make sure you're able to bail later.
Right. As of right now, with the early 2-so cut, Vinny is showing Kokushi to the rest of the table, even though it's not really anywhere close to being Kokushi. Definitely looks like...
I guess that's a third option, is to basically bluff something.
Right. And, well, that's a draw, but still a lot more necessary here, and I think we're going to find Tenpai beforehand. We are already Ishanten on the left for Riichi with potentially Dora or Dora 2. And let's see, Toyman, Kevin. That hand is 2 away from Tenpai. It has 2 Dora. With all these 7 pins coming out, though, it's likely that that Dora pair is going to be exactly that, a pair in the hand. At some point, I want to maybe even consider dropping the 9-pin early.
Oh my gosh, that's like the god draw, drawing the Dora.
That is absolutely the best one. Riichi, Dora 2, coming out from Jackson on the 5-8-so. And we've seen Nathan be very defensive in these spots. I imagine that you'll see that continue here.
And unfortunately for Vinny, it's like they are bailing the hand, discarding the 2-4-4-sos, but they're drawing back into things as they move along, because now they have the pair of Easts.
Right, and maybe if you had those 4-sos back, you'd have, a Chitoy. You'd have 4 pairs for Chitoy.
It's possible. The only issue would be the 6-7-so. At least if... Oh my gosh.
I mean, surely we don't see, like, Honroto Chitoi out of this hand, right?
I mean, you can. I mean,
If you just keep drawing tiles.
I'll be honest. Like one of my last day in Japan, actually, I declared Ricci and then looked at it later on, and it was like, oh wait, this isn't just Chitoi Ricci. This is Honroto Chitoi.
Well, unfortunately
Don't.
for Vinny here, discarded all of these so tiles except and ended up dealing in the dangerous 5 so. That will be Ricci Door 2 for 5,200.
And that this is a case of the fact that Vinny ended up getting tiles that made him think, is like, well, do I go for this? And believe you me, there have been times in which I've kind of in the past that I've gotten stuck with that. It's like I don't. It's like I'm gonna bail. I'm gonna bail. I'm gonna bail. And then suddenly, ooh, Tenpai Ricci. It's like, what are you doing? You were trying to bail in the first place.
Right.
Um, Sometimes you just have to be. You have to commit to what you're doing.
Yeah, I also have been punished many times for having a sort of wishy-washy play style, uh, pushing and then drawing something bad and thinking, nope, I'm out, and then thinking, well, you know what, maybe I can try it anyway, and of course it deals in.
Now, if on the other hand you look at it, if you're in that situation and say, "No, I'm going to Mawashi this as much as I can, and go for this," and you end up getting there, then you're fine.
Yeah.
But you just can't, like, you cannot be half and half about it. You have to commit one way or the other, because chances are, whatever intuition you had when you first started that sequence is probably what you should continue with later on.
Yeah, and without any extra information coming out, you just have to stick with what you believe. And we see an early call from Jackson in this hand. There's the Hatsu aiming for a Honitsu here, so it would be 3 Han. Throws out the Dora, and that puts a pause on the table as Nathan considers calling Chi and going Atozuke with Dora 2. Would you take that Chi there?
It would depend upon if I thought, well, let's see, because you choose 6/8, then you're holding on.
You'd have a
Was that
7-8
eight?
left
So
over.
yeah, yes, and he has a 7/8. Yeah, it really would depend on whether or not how far I thought Jackson was in the hand.
Mm. Yeah, I would not be opposed to making that call. In this case, probably going to get rewarded for not doing so, as the tune turns out to be Mochi Mochi with Kevin on the right. Now, Kevin could
Yeah, and
discard those if it turns into a Tanyao hand, though.
yeah, and unfortunately, like the two mon would have, if they had gotten the two and the one mon in the opposite order, they would definitely would have held on to that. But instead, they actually had to kind of reverse track, and now they're stuck with a 3-pin Ricci here.
Yeah, which definitely feels a little bit worse because you know that Jackson is going for a pin Honitsu and probably has at least one of those tiles. One has already been discarded, and that Jackson probably doesn't want to drop that tile, and no one wants to drop pin tiles into the Honitsu either, so you're kind of relying on a Tsumo here.
Yeah, and see, so the 5-pin is not necessarily a backfire. The real question is just like, you're probably not going to, either you discard the 2 4-pin, or you're just going to accept the 3-pin as your weight. And I guess in this case they decide to commit to the 3-pin as their weight.
Well, Vinny with a slightly better weight here. It's the 4-7 pin, but it is only reaching Nomi. And Jackson finds Tenpai as well. Had the choice of which Tenpai they wanted and picked Haku Tanki, which amazingly enough is all 3 of them are in the wall. It would have been a 2-5-8 weight otherwise.
I mean, the other option.
No.
Ooh. Well, I called it Richinomi, but it turns out when you flip 3 Ura, just as you said, his hands tend to get really expensive, and with that big flip, Vinny all of a sudden is taking a pretty big first place lead. Well, I guess that's only 6,000 over Kevin, but compared to where Vinny was before that hand, definitely a huge swing, and hoping to continue it here with 2 dragon pairs and a Dora, actually 2 more pairs in hand as well. Where do you go with this?
Okay, so let's rewind that back to the
Yeah.
so discard. If you looked at the hand, it's like, this is obviously something you might want to go Chanta for, and I would have discarded the 4-mon instead, and then you would have had the 8-9, and then just pushed really hard that way. He still has that, right?
Right.
He's if you really wanted to go greedy, you could have said, okay, Yakuhai, Chanta, Sancho, Kudora, but at this point, you're still, as long as you get the double Yakuhai, you are looking at a Mangan at this point. Well, actually, double Yakuhai, Chanta,
Dora, yeah.
Dora one.
It would
Yeah.
be Mongon. And lets the one pin pass. Says I want the Haku, and there it is. Ishanta now for Vinny, putting on a show for us in this dealership.
Now here's the thing. Okay, so there's one Naimon out already, and I don't think the other Naimon's going to come out from Nathan's hand. But it looks like Vinny is going for the Pinzu Honitsu, which is a Mangon. If somehow he gets the Naimon from Nathan or draws it themselves, actually no, the Naimon's in the hand.
Yeah,
So
actually.
that's not good at all.
Oh.
So they're just okay. Now, so I can see why you take the Tenpai, but you are not going to get Pinzu at this point.
Yeah, really, you're just hoping to pair up one of these pin tiles, discard and make it look like overflow, and then see the 8-mon come out later. For Toy Toy.
Double Yakuhai Toy Toy, you wouldn't even need the door anymore.
Right, so you'd be totally fine just drawing the 7 pin and dropping the door in that situation. Of course, you could just sumo the last 8 pin. That is always an option here. And it's hard to pass up Tenpai when you get the opportunity.
Yeah. Well, it is, but I think there is something to be said for thinking about what your chances of winning the hand are, and the fact that you really hadn't seen any Pinzu discarded by anybody at that point where you took your Tenpai definitely makes it A, pretty sus, and B, even more unlikely you're going to get it at this point.
Yeah, it's
even the 5 pin that supposedly makes the 8-pin Tsuchi is not going to mean anything to anybody at this point.
Right. It's kind of impressive that Kevin has managed to find Tenpai here on the 6-9 pin without discarding too many dangerous tiles. I'm concerned at the speed at which these tiles are coming out of Vinny's hand. Oh, 5 pin's safe. It actually takes the Ricci now that the value has upgraded. Ricci, Pinfui, Peiko, potentially Dora. Oh, there's a 6 pin immediately drawn.
That's gonna save them hopefully, because
you go one
discard 1/1.
Safer than a 6 pin, that's for sure. Goes with
okay.
2 pin. A little risky.
Well, I mean, if you're going to continue with this hand, you're going to commit to discarding 3/4. That's the thing. And so I don't know how much further they can go.
I mean, it's likely going to turn to a cheat toy. Ooh, do we con? No, let's pass.
Not when second place is the one that Ricci'd.
Right.
And you're really stuck in a bad place here with only 4 tiles. I can easily see why you wouldn't do it.
2 pin comes out. Yeah, the thing is, if I'm Vinny, I don't want to have auto discard on, because if I draw 9 pin, I want to switch my weight.
This is cheat toy for 3 pin.
Yeah, there's the 9 pin. Switches the
weight.
weight.
The 7
this is
because
good.
you're not discarding Dora if your life depended on it. But the 8-mon is held. So unless Vinny gets some help, they're not winning this.
There is 1 3 pin left. There's the last 6 pin.
That should be held too.
Yeah, Kevin's weight is dead, so only the 3 pin can win. There's 1 draw left. And it misses. Wow. Impressive. 3 players finding Tenpai, and everyone holding the Dealan tiles. Nathan will pay out 3,000 in total. The rest of the players will pick up 1,000. There are 2 Ricci sticks in the middle, as well as 2 Homba, making this hand...
Well, I mean, if you're Nathan, you're looking at the hands that are out there, you're probably relieved to be paying out 3,000.
Yeah, only 3,000. Yeah, it definitely was going to be a very painful deal-in, no matter who you paid out to. As dealer, you're pretty optimistic about the chances of at least throwing a Ricci out here, even if it is only Ricci Nomi. The north is the Dora, and not really visible. There is one in the hand to the left that is the north seat as well, but the only one we've seen so far. No con just yet. Makes sense because you can still use the 1-so as a 1-2-3 shape if you draw the 2-so here.
Not only that, but you're still not really that close to finishing your hand here, so there's no there's no rush to call a con at this point because you have other tiles that you need to get anyways.
And this is a little bit of an interesting difference between what we've seen from Vinny, what we've seen from Nathan, and maybe some other players too. The East coming out before the White Dragon. Vinny's holding on to this saying, I've got a save tile here. Whereas Nathan, in an earlier hand, said that East is double wind for me, so I'm going to hold on to that aggressively, believing I can draw it. It's just sort of different thoughts about how to handle that situation.
And interesting now, Vinny has decided to pass on having the con at all, and now they're sitting on 2 Onko. And realistically, that with the way the shapes are, that 7-mon's not really all that useful.
Right. If you do pair up any of these tiles, though, Sonoko is possible. That would be quite fun to see.
Yeah, the only way the 7 would be useful, because if you draw the 6 or the 9-mon, then you're left with a pair of 8s, and you already have the pair of 6s. So it really makes the hand awkward. Why did I call that?
Yeah, that was... See, we're trying to support the players, and I know I already messed up with the Uda thing. So what is an amazing draw that Vinny can get here?
The amazing draw that he could get would be to actually get the Onko of either the 8-mon or the 6 pin.
Yeah, that would be pretty incredible.
And technically, they're all live.
Yeah. Jackson's trying to call us down for a Tino. Is Tempai on the 5/8 Mon? The 5 Mon just left Nathan's hand. And of course, we see where 3 of the 8 Mon are. Seem to be a 4th. Oh, Dora. It was twice cut, so we'll likely pass.
I could run into another curse here. Vinny could run into trouble if he draws a 7 Mon.
Yeah, it depends on how he handles
it really
that.
Depends on what they decide they want to do. Because if they think Ipeco and less of the if they think Ipeco possibly, then the 8-mon does come out. If they're thinking of like Sonanko, then they're okay.
Maybe another hand to compete with here. Nathan declares the Ricci waiting on 1/4 Mon. Oh, Tuso drawn.
Oh, this
okay.
okay.
Okay, dodges.
So, yeah, because you were gonna have to discard a pair somewhere, and so which pair was it? And the Onso actually isn't the safest pair to discard with the Ricci, but it does work out, and they're not paying in yet.
Oh, trouble for Jackson. Jackson can see 3 of the 3 Mon, but the 4th one is in hand. Jackson dodges, though, and waits on the Gebutsu 5, and it comes right out from Kevin.
Oh. Now, see, the reason why, if there was any indication of not to discard the 4-mon, the reason is because there was an early high Monzu discard, and then they discarded the 5-mon, I believe, like a turn or two before the Ricci. Usually, when you talk about these types of this situation, usually it's a naked discard, like the naked 5-mon discard with no other Monzu discarded. But even with the early high Monzu, which I forgot what tile it was necessarily, that 5-mon discard with nothing else usually suggests or should make you wary of the 1/4 or 6/9. And I think that the other Monzu that was discarded early might have been a 9-mon.
Yeah, we know it wasn't an 8.
Then you can eliminate the 1, and then you can eliminate the 6 and the 9, and so you'd be worried about the 1 and the 4. And so having drawn the 4, if you recognize that, then Mawashiing discarding the 7 actually makes sense.
It worked out quite well for Jackson. Ended up picking up the win there, and is over 30,000, tied with Kevin, who is our current dealer. Kevin looking at perhaps a Tanyao Dora hand. Even there's a world where you could make 2, 3, 4 Sanchoku with some good draws. But Jackson's hand, what is this? It's Suwako Ishanten.
Wait, what?
Yeah, Suwako Ishanten for Jackson. There's lots of other routes here, but that would certainly be the one with most value. Let it pass. Let it pass. We want Suwako. You can pull into Tempai here. Oh. Oh, okay. Choosing Honitsu. And now I'm going to be watching Nathan's draws very carefully to see if Suwako would have been drawn at any point. But this is not a bad hedge if you don't believe in the Toy Suwako play.
It seems a bit early for that necessarily, but I can understand why, I guess.
That would be
I mean, like, because there'd be a lot of people who'd be very, very pulled into the shiny thing of the Suwako, and I mean, heck, even we are, right?
Right. Yeah, you could even call Pon on the 8 mon and still have good shapes, but leave yourself the Toy outs as well.
Yeah, that might have actually been the better option here because yeah, you could go for the Honitsu, and yet you did discard a 2 mon early, so maybe you're disguising it, but it's not like as if the tiles you'd be calling for um your Toy would have been that bad. And even although if you were going for a Toy, you wouldn't have called the 8 mon to begin with.
That nine so draw would have been Suanko Tenpai.
Yeah.
But I mean, definitely has an advantage here. I guess Kamicha has good shapes as well. Ishanten for what looks to be Tanyao, Pingfu, Ipeiko, Sanshoku would of course be a brilliant win for Vinny there. Across the way, Nathan decides to get rid of the south pair in favor of the potential
Eat.
Pingfu Sanshoku, Dora 1. And it's Kevin who'll take the first Ricci, waiting on just the 3-pin. Nathan will get Tempai though, and chooses to Dama here. We've seen this several times from Nathan actually, choosing to Dama when following someone's Ricci.
Not to mention the fact that there are 2 2 pins discarded, so your weight's a little bit thinner. And the fact that dealer has not discarded any Pinzu, so that probably makes it such that Pinzu are going to be hard to discard anyways. And then if you draw a Pinzu on your draw when you're not, they're going to take the reaching anyways.
You have to wait one turn.
So the other thinking is that if you just drew any Pinzu, then you could at least get yourself out of the situation, right?
That second Ricci may be encouraging Jackson to bail here.
Kang.
Oh, Khan. Oh, I don't know.
Wait. What are you going to do with the 5-pin?
Yeah. I mean, we can draw it around it for sure, but like
this is still Furry 10.
Yeah, and it's not even going to be Tempai either. We have the Dora 3, so we don't know what to do with either. Yeah, I think if the plan is to bail, then we don't want to con and potentially give value to the other players. As is, this gives
especially to 4th place at this point.
Right, it gives another Dora to 4th place. 5 so is the new Dora. And actually, it poses an interesting question to Vinny on the left, who now has 2 Dora as well. Probably would call for Tempai at this point.
They probably would. It does what cons generally do is does make it more aggressive because people are like, if you're closed, you're like, well, I get extra Uridor. If you're open, it's like, well, there's more Dora to be. Period. Right.
Vinny bails though, doesn't like this east, and so we're going to go to Jukoku again. It is going to be Kevin and Nathan picking up 1,500 points. Jackson will dip below 30,000 after folding out, and Vinny also loses a few points here, but still maintaining the lead. 2 Ricci 6 now, 1 Homba. That was very exciting round. We'll see who can pick up the sticks. This Hatsu pair allows Kevin the ability to open this hand. There's also 2 Dora.
2 Dora.
Yeah, this is going to be quite good for Kevin. To the right, Jackson might work towards a Pinhonitsu, but doesn't have to. Has reasonable floaters in the other suits as well. Across the way, Nathan working with, hoping to draw a door here, and hope for just a Ricci. Maybe you can find Pinfu as well. On the left, Vinny rather. Okay, shapes. Maybe you can call us down for a Tanya and try to snatch away the sticks. Even just winning a Tanya only isn't a bad result for Vinny, who would love to just pass the dealership and maintain this lead. There's even 3, 4, 5 Sanchoku possible, but with the Dora drawn, there's some questions.
Kevin, decides to keep the 1-2 so shape, but probably just because it could be a completed shape at this point, especially if we're just going to try to go quickly here. We'll go Otazuke.
I think this is Honitsu Creed.
Yeah, that's the other thing too, is the fact that you definitely were looking for the hedge. That was a hedge for the Honitsu.
Yeah.
The 1-2 originally.
I agree completely. And I wonder what's going to happen if Kevin draws around this 5-pin, because you could just say this is Otazuke after doing so.
Yeah, this isn't a full commit either way, really.
Even though it does sort of give that appearance, because you dropped your 8-so floater and you dropped entirely away from this 1-2 block. But
well,
yeah.
And the other thing is, this could just be a disguise, right? You're looking like Mon Honitsu. The tiles that you're going to have to discard for your Tenpai are now honor tiles. They're all honor tiles. So if you draw, say, the 4-pin, you discard the east. then if somebody gives you the 3 or 6 mon, you chi, you discard the Haku, and then you could, like I said, your wait could end up being in Pinzu, in which everybody's like, well, certainly you're not waiting on Pinzu, right?
Right. Speaking of Pinzu, there's another pin draw, and are we going to see the commit to Honitsu? No. I think at this point I actually like going Honitsu, but this is very wide Ishanten.
Oh, okay. Now you're full commit for Honitsu for Kevin, but I think if you're Jackson, that has to be a decision to be made immediately, because you decide in that moment whether or not you can discard the 3/4 into the Honitsu.
Yeah, Kevin was holding this 5
pin. At this
pin,
point, you're really stuck.
But now the door came out, got pulled, and it's an extremely scary dealer hand. Hatsu, I don't know if Nathan will drop this. I don't think he will, or they will.
Here's the thing. It's like once that 8 is pawned, like,
oh,
I don't like this call necessarily, because of the fact that you have now declared to the table you definitely have a Mongon, regardless of a Honitsu or not, and your chances now of finishing may be significantly less at this point. If you had held those 2 Dora in your hand and you never called it, then they wouldn't know. I mean, they might think Honitsu, they might think you have Dora because it's in the Honitsu suit, but there's still a question of like, well, I don't know if they have that, so maybe I can continue going. But you've now declared that you. Okay.
Yeah, the table seems to not care though, so maybe that's just a read of the table.
At least Nathan doesn't care.
Right. Well, we saw also Vinny drop the 4-mon right after the door got called, so no fear there either. This is actually Tempai. Also, Tempai on the right for Dama Pinfu on the 2-5. And we're going to see Tempai found for Vinny. So everyone fighting here. It's dealer Hanemon versus Richi Chun on the left versus Pinfu only on the right versus Pinfu only across the way.
That's such, like, I guess you can applaud their bravado, but man, that's just, you have to be so certain about that.
Yeah, absolutely. It is definitely scary. But it makes sense from, Vinny and Jackson to perhaps fight here, given their position in the overall standings.
Yeah.
Nathan has can play a little bit more relaxed and is folding out here, it looks like. Oh, 7.
Gong.
There's the 6. That's going to be 18,000 points, changing the positions for sure. Kevin,
the thing is that you're sitting. Here's the thing: it's like you're sitting at 37-1, right? You were in the lead, so there wasn't necessarily it wasn't necessary for you to push into that, especially if somebody else pays in, because then at least you're I mean, like, not like you weren't necessarily not guaranteed or not didn't necessarily have a good chance to get second, but like, let's say Jackson for some reason dealt in. Well, chances are you probably figure that you're now a lock for at least second place, and sure, you need first, but yeah, I just think that Ricci at that point is just probably not warranted, given that you knew what dealer was holding.
Perhaps the play there is Dama, and if you draw any Mon tile, then you can fold, or you can Mawashi a little bit and just drop your Forso pair and say, who knows, maybe I'll draw another of that Mon tile and get back into Tempai.
That's definitely another option for sure.
Ricci was absolutely the most aggressive way of playing it, and it certainly did not pay off this time. As it is, I mean, it's still South 1. Kevin hoping to claim as many points out of this game as possible to increase the chances of being able to promote from C1 into the B3 division. And we already saw a call from the right. Jackson, again, looking like a Chanta, perhaps. There is a way to use door for this Chanta. With that 8-pin draw, certainly looks viable. Ishanta now for Jackson. What other hand looks good here?
Just in general?
Yeah. I like Toyman.
Toyman's isn't bad with a 2 Dora. Wait, they're Ishanten for Chitoy.
Yeah. Chitoy's a good Yaku.
Chitoy's a good Yaku. I'm not sure if I like the tiles that they would end up on. Not even the 9-7 necessarily, I wouldn't necessarily like. the East is probably a better weight, but that 2-4 pin would probably, in my opinion, I would probably get rid of those because I do see there's a 5 and a 6 discarded on my right, sitting Nathan's point of view. And now with the 4 pin discarded, it might actually look a little bit better because the thing that you want to look at for Chitoi specifically is you want to look for tiles that either people aren't looking for or tiles that look like, are like once cut at least, if nothing else.
Here's a question. How often do you think after this early 5-pin cut, let's say you drew the East for Tenpai, you drop the 4-pin here, how often from the rest of the tail's perspective would you expect to see that be waiting on 2-pin? Early 5-pin followed by a later 4-pin cut.
Probably
pretty infrequently, right?
The 4-pin there probably looks a little sus because it's because you discarded the 5 relatively early, and now you're later on in the second row you're discarding the 4.
Yeah.
I don't know if that necessarily means that somebody would end up being particularly wary on the 2-pin, but it seems a little weak in that sense.
Because if you had like 2-2-4, you probably would have kept the 5 for the 4-5 shape.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it definitely is interesting, and might not even be Chitoi at this point. We're just Ishanten for Ipeco.
Well, Ishanten for Ipeco, Ryanshanten for Suwanko, if you really wanted to think that far, but you're sitting in third row at this point, and one of your pairs is the Dora, so probably not.
Okay, would you consider calling for Toy Toy at this point? Say that the 6-0 came out?
You need to get Tenpai, so it's a sideways movement, and the other issue is that you're really depending upon probably to pull in the 8-so because your other pair is the 7-mon or the Dora. So if I was really desperate, or I think that the 8-so might be more likely to come out, then probably.
Oh, we'll see Tenpai here.
Well,
yeah. Oh, it takes the Riichi too. Interesting.
That's a bit late for that.
Yeah, it's Riichi, Ipeco, Dora 3.
The thing is, it doesn't change anything. It's technically, it's either Ipeco, Dora 3, or Riichi, Ipeco, Dora 3, and then you're hoping to hit Ura, right?
Right.
And I guess that's maybe the hope. But there's so few draws left that I would want to try to cash in the hand as opposed to try to get the extra value out of it.
There is one 7-so left in the wall for Haite Sumo. Of course, Sumo would give Hanema regardless of Haite.
That's a chi.
Oh, breaks it. Kan? Show us the... Oh, wait, you can't. You can? Yeah, you can.
There was one tile left.
You're right, there was. Because of the chi, right. Did not find the Rinshan.
It wouldn't have changed anything because Jackson would have gotten Tenpai on the other way instead.
Yeah.
I guess.
Goodness, I wonder what that last tile on the wall was.
Actually, no, you're right. That could have actually changed it because the last tile on the wall could have been the tile that Jackson needed, but because they would have drawn the Dora, or Jackson would have drawn the Dora, then been Tenpai for the Sozu, I think it was. So
I want to know. I want to go back in the log and look at that. But it is South 2.
Of course, you don't know if the last tile was the 7, so
right, exactly.
They could have ended up drawing into that because it was Dead World.
Well, it is Jackson's dealership. We are in. Jackson is over 30,000 and looking to increase on this. Has a door in hand. That's a great fill. Technically Ishanten, but you don't really want to be waiting on the 7-so with his penchant shape. So we'll hope for an improvement around this 4-mon. To the right, Ichihime, that's Nathan, has Itsu thoughts in the Pinsu, but diamond shapes everywhere else. So it is actually kind of efficient to drop away from this. Well, there's the 7-so. So you don't have to wait on it when you just draw it.
At first I was going to ask you, it's like, well, it's like, do you really want to wait on a 7-so here? Or maybe you want to hedge on something else, like maybe some type of like, I don't know, actually, no, 1, 2, 3 Sancho wouldn't have been a thing. But I was going to ask you about maybe hedging for something. I didn't even get the chance because they drew the 7-so after all.
Yeah, 2 5-sos looking pretty good. There's 4 left in the wall. 2 of each.
And with such an early Riichi like this, generally most people will just be like, well, I don't know anything. So either you're either one of two camps. You're either in the camp of, well, F it, because I just don't know what the heck you're waiting for. so I'll just go ahead and play normally because I don't know any better. Or you're just like, okay, I have I still have some save tiles, so you know what? I'm just going to give up this because it's really not worth anything. I think most people are in the first camp where it's just like, well, I'm just going to go for this because I don't know what.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, to some degree, it depends on what you have in hand. If you're close enough to Tempai and you only have to push a few bad tiles, then you might as well, without any effort, just push for it. But if you've got nothing and loads of these honor tiles and Genbutsu tiles and things like that, at that point you might as well just fold and see what happens.
Vinny's in trouble at this point. They had drawn the 1-so, and yeah, they had drawn the 1-so, and they could have kept it for the 1-2-3 and tried to go somewhere else. But as soon as they discarded the 1-so, then you knew that the 2-so was going to come out eventually.
Yeah, it was going to be a really rough, and it's so hard to keep the 1-so in that spot anyway. Did deal into 3 on hand, and that means that Jackson now is up to 38-8, pretty close to catching first place here. Dealer Mongon Sumo would do that. Actually, does a Dealer Mongon do it with a Honba? The gap is 12-6. Yeah, it certainly does. And this could be a Mongon. What is this? Ishanten? Ishanten, 2 Mon would give you Tempai and 2-5-8 pin.
Yeah. Vinny, go ahead and try for the...
Chi.
It would be triple Yakahai Honitsu Dora, which would be 12,000 actually, if they actually were able to convert this.
Yeah, started with the Anko of Chun and a pair of Haku. There's an Anko of Hatsu on the left and a pair of South, so the Yakuhai are flowing. The only hand that doesn't have it is Ichime Nathan on the right that's got good chances at a Tanyao here. Do you like this Chi from Jackson? It's getting rewarded here.
It's 12,000. Sorry, it's 12,000. Yeah, it's Tanya Dora 3. Like, there's no reason not to do this, really.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't need to sit Ishanten with a hand that's not callable when you could just call and still be Ishanten. Okay, Kevin's hand is starting to come together. Could Kevin be thinking about turning this to Honitsu? It certainly would make sense here. It is moving in that direction.
Yeah, it's not like discarding Sozu. You're worried about dealer because if they are going for a Honitsu or something like that, it's in the Pinzu, so you wouldn't necessarily be just worried about Sozu until you find out that it wasn't Honitsu after all. It was just Dora 3.
And that means that Jackson will take the lead here. This is a huge result for Jackson if he can carry this all the way through to the finish line. 52,000 points. Kevin still close behind. We're only in South 2. This high pie not nearly as easily viewed as a Mongon, but let's see if we can find a way to get there. There is now sort of the building blocks for Itsu and the Manzu. And you have a pair and another shape elsewhere. So if you draw perfectly, you can, of course, get there. To the right, messy tiles. Almost looks like a Chanta or a Junchan there. But we'll, of course, just be playing efficiently. Across the way, we have what looks more like a Tanyao for Vinny and can even open that hand. But the problem is with the positioning, you're only at 6,200 points. You really need more than Tanyao only here, even with 5 Honba. And then Kevin on the left. A couple pairs, not the best shapes in the world. And oddly enough, we don't see any of the Dora.
And so, I was gonna bring that point up if you kind of did that for me. And so we can kind of discuss this as his hand moves on. But yeah, if you think about it, how many hands ago did Vinny have 37,000 points and was in first place?
You're right. I mean, that's been a long time ago. It seems like that, but a couple monster hands, and all of a sudden, it's Jack who's got 52,000 points, Kevin who's at 47,000 points, and Vinny's just hoping to pull out a third place here.
And so this comes down to several things, and like we already mentioned one of them in terms of just the decision at that point, which we're not gonna hammer too much on at this point because we already discussed it. The bigger thing is especially when it comes to mindset and everything, because it's like, well, I have this first place now, and now I've lost it, and now I need to try to salvage this, and then if you don't have the right mindset for it, it could easily spiral out of control. And that's not necessarily to say that's what's happened to Vinny necessarily, but this, just in terms of the score line wise, there's probably a lot of players out there that could probably end up running into that type of mindset. And so by by going back and being like, okay, I'm not going to be aggressive here, you can kind of avoid that, and then maybe and still come out with something decent at the end of it, even if you're not necessarily in first at the end.
Yeah, and of course, the hand is kind of shaping up for Vinny. Is avoiding the Fujiten issue here, Ishan 10 right now, for Ricci, Pinfu, Tanyao, and Jack. I wonder if this is a Chinitsu play. It could also just be Itsu if you get the 4-mon.
So especially now, I think you can actually do that. I think before it would have been harder,
right?
But now that you have the pair of 8s, technically, then yeah, this could easily be an Itsu.
Yeah, you cheat 4, 5, 6, drop the 6, and you have your Itsu. Oh no, we're gonna go for it now.
Now, well, okay. So here's the thing: like, you could have called the 6, 7, 8, and then discarded the 6, but you're actually then dependent on the 4. You can't win on the 7,
right?
And so I guess the thinking is that, well, if I'm gonna have to be Autozuki that way, it's gonna be rather thin at this point. So you know what? If I'm gonna be thin anyways, I might as well be thin for maximum value at this point. But that looks like they might get them into trouble here, especially if they're able to convert. Like, I can see you discarding the East here to start, but you are not going to get away from this if you get Tenpai.
Yeah, and of course, something that...
You're not getting away from this.
Yeah, a slight miss for Vinny here. Because the 4 so was the Ricci Child, not the 2 so, does miss out on Pinfu, as well as the Ricci Tanyao. And that misses out on 1,300 points. We'll see if that becomes relevant later on. But always good when you have that Anko shape to think about if you have the chance at creating Pinfu, along with the rest of your hand. We move to South 3. Oh my goodness. Is it a day for Dion Peiko? What do you think? Not the 2 so.
Okay, at this point now you're probably looking at maybe like Sanshoku or something
like
that.
2, 3, 4 Sanshoku, Tanyao.
Sanshoku.
But Dion Peiko's so fun.
It is. It's just hard.
But honestly, this could be a huge hand for Nathan if you do. Oh my goodness, these draws. Well, 2, 3, 4 Sanshoku, Pinfu, Tanyao. It's a Mangan, and with some bonuses there, you could even find Hanemon. And none of these other hands look like they can fight.
You would really love to confirm that with the 2-mon.
Oh yeah.
Actually, you know what? You should. I would probably even just discard the 4-mon at this point, wouldn't you?
I mean, so okay, here's the question. If you were to draw 2 so or 5 so right now, would you Ricci? Ricci on 3, 6-mon for Ricci, Tanyao, Pinfu with the Peiko chance.
Okay, I guess that's a good point.
If that wasn't the case, then I think I agree.
Yeah, I think once you brought that up, yeah, that makes it. You're right. You're right.
Well, here's another question.
There's no reason to Sakigiri the 4.
Right. Yeah. While we're on this topic, would you even Ricci if you drew the 2-mon? Because you already have Mangan.
No. I mean, you need to win the hand.
Yeah, because
if you were closer maybe to second, then maybe. But you need, first and foremost, you want to convert this hand. You do not want to take Ryukoku payments on this. If you're gonna get the guaranteed Mangan.
Dama Mangan would be 12,000 points. Oh, well, this isn't the tempo we wanted, but Ricci, Pinfu, Tanyao, you can flip Uda for Mangan.
The only reason why I don't like this is, again, like, you have not discarded any Sozu. Sozu is the Dora suit. You can always sumo it, although it's not just Sumo Thursday. But I mean, you're probably taking Ryukoku payments, I would assume, unless you manage to draw this yourself.
Yeah, when you make this Ricci, you are saying I believe I will sumo. I will sumo and maybe even flip an Uda for Mangan.
Yeah, there's just a lot of. To me, it feels like there's just a lot of hope, especially when you're trying to, when it feels like you definitely want to win this.
But I just don't think that Dama is good enough for Tanyao Pinfu. If it comes out, are you going to pass Roan?
I mean, Okay, so if you're gonna take this Tempai, then yeah, you're probably gonna have to Ricci because you're not. There aren't going to be many more improvements otherwise. But if you're not going to take this Tempai, then um, actually that doesn't make much sense. But if you're not going to take the Tempai, then you would just toss it back anyways.
Yeah, if
but,
you're Dama, your plan is to draw into the Sanchoku and like switch the weight around, or. But as it is, still 5 tiles in the wall. As we say that, there is the Tsumo, and we'll check the Ura. We'll see if this gets really rewarded. Ricci, Tsumo, Pinfu, Tanya. No Ura, but that's 26 all is very important for Nathan here to really put some distance on 4th place, who was catching up and actually had a really strong hand. That was Ishan 10 for a long time during that Ricci.
Now, just quickly, Vinny wasn't Tempai, right?
No, I believe it was just Ishan 10.
Okay, because the chat has asked, one of the people in the chat saying no con despite being in last, and the answer is no, because unless you're Tempai, there's not really any reason for you to do so because you're just giving more value to other people. And unless maybe you think that you might get somebody to pay in and maybe fall down towards you, it seems like it really makes it, for me, it would be probably not warranted to declare a con at that point with the Haku because you weren't necessarily Tempai, and you already have a dealer Ricci. And if dealer manages to win that hand and hits even more Urador, then you're really SOL being in last. Not to say that it wouldn't have happened anyways, but you're just kind of helping the cause at that point.
Yeah, one quick comment on that. I don't know if it was relevant to roll, but by not conning, you also there were many pairs in the hand. You were also Chitoi Ishan 10. Now, if Tempai would have given you, or if any pair draw would have given you Tempai for a normal hand, then maybe that's irrelevant. But there was also the Chitoi option that conning would ruin. But also in this hand, Nathan chooses to discard the Dora as the East Anko is drawn, and the hand is just Ishan 10. And Tempai, I assume we see a Ricci here. I can't particularly think of a reason not to. And so we'll have Ricci East. Nathan on the comeback road.
The only thing is, again, that's a -5 so in that suit. So again, some theories would indicate that you would be wary of either 1-4 or 6-9.
Yeah, and I think one of the things Nathan has probably noticed over the course of the series is that for the most part, this table plays pretty aggressively, and maybe that's not going to be in the forefront of these players' minds. And so just take your value where you can get it. There's a 9, so danger for Vinny.
He's avoided it for one turn, but that 9 so doesn't fit.
Yep, as you said, there it goes. Ricci, Toln, and the Ura kill. That actually will drop Vinny into the negatives and puts Nathan over 30,000. Is there any way Nathan actually takes first in this game? I mean,
this hand to start with is actually possible.
It could absolutely happen here. There is a chance to eat. I mean, this is just Ishan 10 already after one discard. Kanchan to fill, sure, but could even find Tempai in this draw. Oh, that's a Dora. That's spicy. Chooses to discard the 2, so that does kill your Itsu chances.
Yeah, I don't know if I love that. I think I probably would have preferred discarding the. Well, see, that's the thing is, it was actually tricky once I saw that because I'm kind of like, well, you want to keep the Dora, but what do you discard?
Yeah,
and I guess the 2 so might be fine, but like you could have made an argument for even discarding 8-9. Because it's not like you're discarding Dora anyways. Or if you think that you're going to draw around the Dora anyways and now you get a Ryamen shape, then you discard 2-4 pin. Although some would argue, well, you're losing tile acceptance by doing so. So
yeah, this way at least maintains the Ishan 10. I think that was not an easy cut at all. I'm not sure. You know, you could make an argument for 2-4. You could make an argument for 8-9 pin. You could even say 9 so, 7 so, give up the Itsu and just hold all your pin shapes. I don't think I like that as much.
You don't take this Ricci, though. You don't take this Ricci, though, do you?
Nope, we do. Nathan says, I'm on a hot streak. I'm going to continue to win these. 1/8 is cut, but this is Richidora 1.
Chi.
And that Chi is very interesting. Jackson's headless here. Throws away from the Mon shape. Mon does look like the cheaper suit here.
Yeah, and so I think they can easily Mawashi their way around here if they need to.
Yeah, five Mon has also come out, so we could see Kevin discard it if he tries to play super safe. There it is. Chi into Tenpai. I mean, it's Harakatanki, but you never know.
I mean, this really is a play at this point to cut off dealer.
Right.
I mean, there's definitely I can probably guarantee that everybody's had a time in which they're sitting down at the table, somebody's making a big run at this, and you're just like, I got to stop them. And the real question is to like, how far are you willing to go to stop the dealership? Because sometimes what can happen is you overextend yourself, you make a mistake, and then the dealership just continues, and you're in a worse position. So we'll have to see what happens here, because this is definitely a bit of an this is definitely extending yourself. Yeah. I won't say overextend because he hasn't lost it yet, but
well, interesting. Had held the Forso instead of waiting on Genbutsu Tuso. Ended up switching the waiting on the Suji Trap 1, which Suji doesn't quite work when you're on a guaranteed Tanki wait, but
yeah,
there's actually fewer 1-so in the wall, and
oh my god,
here's the 8-so Tsumo Richi Tsumo Dora. We'll check Ura for Mangan. It's not there, but still 2,000 all plus Honba, and Nathan is close to stealing this one.
Yeah, and this is a Yakuhai Dora 1.
With 2 Dora still in the wall, could even be 5,800 plus Honba. Assuming the Hatsu comes out, we will anticipate a call. We do have one of those green dragons on the right. Vinny hanging on to it for now. It just looks like a Ricci only hand unless you could draw a Dora. Across the way, Kevin has a 1-2-3 Sanchoku chance, and maybe you could turn this into Junchan or Chanta perhaps, but you would love to draw around that 7-pin Dora. On the left, Jackson's got 3 pairs, okay shapes. Dora acceptance, but it is weak acceptance. 8-9-9 pin shape, not particularly strong without the Dora itself. There's the Hatsu, there's the call. Nathan now Ishanten.
10, you really don't want to wait on the Dora here, I don't think, as a Penchon wait. But there really isn't going to be much else otherwise unless you draw either another 5 or 8 pin. And then you could pivot out of it.
Yeah, I think it's just going to be wait and see, really.
Oh,
that's the call. Now you can still switch this to something that's more useful. I mean, still Yakai Door 2 is great, and you'll take that regardless. But you can always switch this up if you need to.
Right. And, well, 6-pin drawn, so that locks the Dora into Kevin's hand. Still looking for 2 more 7 pins in the wall. And, oh my goodness. We found one. We found it for 2,000 all, plus 900 points in Honba.
And that's the lead. That is the lead.
The story's not over just yet. Still South 3, still Nathan's dealership. There's Chun pair in hand, but Nathan has completed the comeback to the point where they've got the lead here. And just as you said, when the dealer's going on a run, you're like, can anybody build a hand? Fine, I'll do it myself. Jackson got the Harakatanki, but didn't pan out, as the Tsumo was found by Nathan anyway. And it feels like there's just nothing you can do sometimes.
I think the other, I don't know if it would have worked in that case, but at some point, sometimes, it might just be worth it if you're one, like, let's say, Jackson was Tenpai. It may have been worth it for somebody like Kevin, who's like also wants this dealership to end, to be like, okay, what does Jackson need on this Harakatanki because it's 2,000 points? Now, I might pay 2,000 plus extra, but like, if this causes us to stop the dealership, then deal into that as opposed to letting dealer continue their hand.
Yeah, and but the awkward thing for that in this scenario was that even if you ended the dealership there, you go into South 4, Kevin would be behind Jackson at that point, and um, you don't want to be giving up ground when you're in a battle for first place with that player by intentionally dealing in. As much as you want to end the dealership, it's really difficult to make the call to Sasha Komi and deal in intentionally for that
Yeah,
reason.
that's the, it's that is true,
It
and
does make more sense if there was a larger gap between the two, and I think because it's so close, even if you wanted to do that, it, can you really make that decision in this instance? I'm not sure that I'd be able to.
yeah. The only reason why you might do it, regardless, is just because you just need to stop it. Like you just need to say like we need to be done with this because it these are the cases in which you just worry that it just starts running away from everybody, and then you're just kind of like, well, okay, what do I do?
Chi.
There's not nothing I can do now.
Yeah, well, it's not completely over yet. Nathan has taken the lead, but is still within striking range of these other two players. Kevin and Jackson both can still overtake. However, Nathan building a very strong hand here. Tempai, do you take the Tempai? Would be Shabo on the 3 so or the Chun.
Riichi.
You could also wait for Sanchoku and just choose to take the Riichi. I mean, these have been working out for Nathan, just taking the dealer Riichis. Only one tile for this one left in the wall. It's a Chun, and there's Tempai. We're going to see the fight. Good wait. 2 so, 5 so. And there are 5 of these in the wall. 5 versus 1. So surely this is where the dealership ends.
Don't say that. I would try to make some comments like, please don't say that, and don't call me Shirley.
Well, 5 versus 1. There's one of the 5 so. Jackson does not deal it out. Notably, the Chun is Genbutsu to Kevin at least, and you're not really expecting dealer to be waiting on the Chun here. So if it's drawn by any of these players, they might trial it out there. So far, good defense played, and still tiles left in the wall. 4 of them for Kevin's 2-5. So wait.
I have a feeling I'm going to walk away from this computer because the dealership's going to continue.
Well, also notably, dealer has not found an 8-mon that would have turned this into Sanchoku, so seems taking the Ricci was the proper route. No, wait 1 turn for extra value. Only 5 draws remaining. Where are these 2 5s?
Tsumo.
Okay, thankfully it's over.
2 Ricci, Tsumo, Tanyao, Ura even for the Mongon, and that is huge. Finally, Kevin pulling ahead here in South 4. That's not first place locked up. There still is one more round to go. And is it Vinny's turn? Can Vinny pull off the impossible here?
Oh, this is you're hoping now for Chanta. This is awful.
Chanta
Sanchoku.
Sanchoku?
This is not it's a hand that's expensive, but like even for somebody like me who gets Chanta or Junchan a bit, like this is not
Gee.
if I need points, this is not the hand that I want for that because it's just so hard to complete.
It's not the hand you want, but it so often seems to be the hand that you get when you're in this all last situation. And well, Jackson seems content to just take a second place here. In fact, Jackson's in third right now, so winning 1,000 points will be enough to increase the point total pretty significantly here by +5 at least, not including the hand value, which appears to just be Tanya only.
And that's the other issue is like not only do you have a relatively slow hand, but now you're fighting against people that are rushing against each other. And you know, if I'm honest, I may even like if I have to rush it down, I may have even called that north.
Yeah, that would make some sense.
Because you know that Nathan's going to try to finish their hand too, so they may end up giving you tiles that you need anyways. Wait, wasn't that Tempai?
It
Didn't they just try to fight
yeah,
for Tempai?
it would have been Tempai on the 6 so. Really hoping for the 3-mon pull so that you get the multi-sided weight. But
Don't you just take your Tempai at that point?
I think I personally would just take the Tempai. although it's not the greatest.
Pum.
Speaking of Tempai, there's Nathan calling it down, Tanya as well. Oh, the 6-0 came out, and instead you're going to
Yeah,
deal in.
that's the dealing it.
And that will end things here in this game number 2. Kevin, after a long fought game, Kevin the big winner, plus 35.1. Nathan will grab the second place, plus 14.7. Jackson in third, plus 7.4. And a difficult game for Vinny, negative 57.2. It was okay until Nathan went on that massive dealer run. How many hands in a row was it from Nathan to climb back into this?
Here.
It's 3 or 4. And they were all big ones, too.
Yeah, there was 4 hands. Went to east, south 3-4.
And in the end,
So, yeah.
Nathan continues to climb, plus 173.7. Kevin now in the promotion zone, in the 5th spot, in fact. 100.3 for Kevin. And let's see if they are continuing to play tonight. Looks like they haven't started yet if they are, but there are a couple other matches that are going on right now. An A24 table has started 20 minutes ago. A table C1 started, C15 started 11 minutes ago. That would be the more recent one. Do you have a preference for which one?
Well, okay, so it looks like this table will continue going if we want to focus on that, or we can switch. I don't really have a preference for either. I guess one argument to watch this table is to see how Vinny deals with the next the next game after what happened in this most recent one. But we can also just focus on some other table if we want to. I don't really have a preference for either.
Yeah, I don't really either. We could I do quite like this table. It is it's been very interesting seeing all the interactions, and of course, although Nathan's dealer rate's been going up a little bit higher, has been playing some very strong mahjong. Kevin as well, and I feel like Vinny and Jackson might be getting a little bit unlucky, but also have maybe a couple small inaccuracies here and there, which are really good learning moments. And like we just saw in that very last hand, missing a tempai that actually would have ended up giving you second place. I think I actually quite like this table, so perhaps we'll stick here. Of course, the third game rather, hasn't started yet. They're on a bit of a break.
Yeah,
But
they are on break right now, but they will. It looks like they will continue with this set.
yeah, so I guess we have a little bit of time to fill. I know, Edwin, we mentioned this earlier at the start of the broadcast that this is your first cast in a while. You've been out of the country for a while. You had a lot of things to take care of when you got back. I'm really curious to hear about your trip to Japan. I know you got a chance to play at the JPML Dojo and against multiple pro players. How was your experience overall?
So, just to kind of fill in the story here, because, and this is a bit of like, the trip is a bit selfish, is because I didn't think that I would be because of the way the state of American Riichi Mahjong in the U.S. Personally, I didn't think I'd be selected to go to the WRC in 2025 as a player, and maybe there as a staff person. But because of that, it was like, well, if I don't have that, then I need to do something. I want to try to participate in something. And so I don't even remember how I found out about it in the first place, but I had seen that the GPML Mahjong Masters tournament was coming up at the beginning in April of this year. And so I thought, well, I mean, it was open to amateurs, so I don't even know if it was Dosuke who I talked about it, or Daniel Moreno, who's now a pro in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember if he mentioned it or whatever, but I decided, well, if I can't go to the WRC, then I might as well try out for this, assuming that it's open to foreigners. And so I have a contact of mine over in Japan who helps me. I can ask about this stuff, and they confirmed that it was open to foreigners, at least for this year, because it had been closed beforehand because of COVID.
Right.
And so I decided, you know what, if it's open, I'm going to go ahead and try for it. The only thing was that if I somehow made it through all the stages, I was going to have to be there for a month. And so I worked it out with my workplace, and I had to bring my work laptop overseas, but I got the month off, and so I traveled over there. And the thing is that like I could I it's like it's a month, but if I somehow didn't make it out of the first round, the qualifying round for the amateurs, that's a 1 day thing. So like after that, it's like, well, what else do you do? And so I made sure to try to fill my time with either doing some other activities or um, trying to meet as many professionals as possible. And so um, what I ended up, so I don't remember who was the first. Oh no, I remember. So I managed, the flight was going to arrive in Japan early than I had scheduled. So I got there on the Tuesday of March 28th. I ran to my hotel room. I dropped everything off, took a shower, ran to the dojo, just because at that I think that it was that day was Date. It was a
Ah,
Date. And so I managed to get her signature, and that started the first of many, many signatures that I got over the entirety of my trip there. I think I ended up meeting 30 professionals in all.
that's so awesome.
Um,
Of course, viewers will
and
know Date from M League or Saki voice actress, and among many other things. I'm sure many super jealous fans out there that you got to get an autograph.
I got the autograph. I didn't get a chance to play against her, unfortunately, but also at the same time that the entire place was packed.
Yes.
Like you like I had to actually wait an extra round in order for me to get in because it was full. Um, so that first week I was there, I ended up meeting Date. I met um, Setokuma.
Hmm.
I met Hiyoshi, the announcer for
Hmm.
M League and JPNO. And I also ended up meeting Tsuchida Pro, the Chitoy guy.
Right.
And in all last, I was trying to overtake him for first, and I was Ishan 10 for Chitoy, but I was trying to be too cute about it, and so I ended up in Ishan 10 hell.
But it feels
I see the game.
it feels like that's something you should be doing when you get the chance to play
Yeah,
against.
but like if I just played it more normally and not try to be too cute about it, which I mean, unfortunately, this game's about to start, so I can't really get into it too much detail. But
No.
I would have actually gotten my tempai after all, and unfortunately, that started as something that kind of continued to uh, for a good first half of my trip, which we'll have to get to later. But um, I definitely got to meet a lot of pros during my time there, like from Murakami to Matsumoto to Suzuki Taro to Nakabayashi to Shiratori Sho, um, Takizawa. Uh,
All these
Matsugase. Um,
all these names that I recognize, a lot of them from M League, but just
quite a few from M League. I did make it a point to try to meet a lot of the M League pros, but especially for mahjong in Japan, like there's a lot of you see a lot of the pros, but there are so many more pros out there
Mhm.
who are just kind of toiling in the background. And in as much as you see Date like getting the place packed, there were a couple of people making their debut at the JPML dojo. On the other hand, and you could tell in those days it was fairly empty, and it's like, well, that they're new pros, and they're not, that they're not necessarily, they haven't necessarily proven it yet, but it is kind of sad to see. So I did try to make it a point to try to support some of the other pros that were out there just by meeting them and asking them for their autograph.
Yeah, that's awesome. And speaking for myself, I would love to have the chance to go to Japan one of these days and get the chance to meet or hopefully play against some of these pros myself. And well, I am curious to hear how you fared in the tournament and everything else. But we do have a game in progress. It is Vinny, our dealer, in game three of the C1 table. Kevin to the right, Jackson across the table, in the west seat. And then Nathan on our left, we have a couple Dora in the dealer hand. That's pretty promising for a high pie. East has come out. South isn't really a value pair here, but of course some excellent draws can help move this hand forward. To the right, we have Kevin with the Chumon Anko now. Could just be a Ricci here. We'll see how long this 9-8 penchant gets held. Currently, the South not doing too much unless it gets paired up, so we'll just leave the hand across the way. Jackson with awkward shapes. We'll just be hoping to build around a Dora shape in the future. And then on the left, Nathan, I keep seeing the name Ichihime and wanting to use that instead, but Nathan is working with reasonably strong shapes here. Could be Ricci Pinfu.
So here's the problem with Vinny's hand here is the fact that you have the two Dora, but because you have that pair of Souths, it kind of feels like it's limiting your hand because it isn't a value pair, right? And so what's happening is that in order for you to keep the South pair, you have to get either the East or the Haku to pair up. But then that means that you realistically have 4 tiles that you're tying up as a result. And you can see that like it hasn't quite worked out that way. It hasn't quite worked out. But you've seen that they discarded the 8-pin and 6-pin, which technically you could have kept if you're trying to go for some type of Tanyao shape, right?
Right.
Now, this isn't to say that Vinny should have done this or otherwise, but this is something that people have to judge all the time: is whether or not, okay, I have the Dora pair, I want to win this hand, I have this pair of Souths. Do I want to try to get a Yakuhai somewhere, or do I just say that I'm not going to use any of the honors and just try to go for some type of normal hand?
Yeah, it's a little bit.
The one thing that Vinny did have that could have allowed him to continue to hold those tiles is the fact that having drawn that one Mon, there's a chance for an Itsu.
Right, it's a little bit more obvious now that the one Mon's in hand. And I was wondering if you would consider calling the second South as it came out, lock in the South as a triplet, use the 4-so as your pair, and just say this is going to be Itsu, even though I'm not anywhere close to it. I hope to draw a 1 or a 2 Mon and then call my way into an Itsu.
The answer is probably not, and the reason why is because, again, if you do that, you're now depending upon Monzu. You have not discarded any Monzu. You haven't discarded any Sozu either, so it's not really that apparent what you're going for.
Right. It looks to other players like a Honitsu at that point then.
But if you end up discarding like the 2-so later on, then it becomes an issue. And so, being dealer, possibly looking at a Honitsu, and who knows what else, like it becomes a little questionable. Now with that one pair draw, having discarded the 9-mon, like because you've now committed to the Dora and the South pair, as somebody in chat has said, this is now Chitoy. And unfortunately, because you discarded the last tile you discarded for a suit is a 9-mon, it's like even if you know it's not Honitsu, the rest of the table doesn't know that.
Yeah.
So the fact that your final weight's going to be in Monzu is just going to make it that much more problematic for you, really.
I imagine we might even see a Dama if Vinny were to find the Tempai and try to switch this weight out from a Mon weight to any other suit. In fact, even holding the 7-pin, hoping that will end up being the final weight here.
Now, okay, so here's the other thing, right? There was that 4-mon that was drawn, or there was a 4-mon that was discarded by Nathan. You are sitting at the third row. At some point in time, something has to go off in your head as to, okay, do I want to win this hand to, I just need to at least be either, why can't I remember the term for some reason?
K-Tempai?
K10. Be K10 Tempai or to, what do you call it? To
does it bail out?
At least be Tempai at the end, even if it's going to be for just Hote, right?
Right.
So in that case, because it's third row, you wouldn't necessarily be faulted to have cheated the 4 and gone for K10, because not only would you be Tempai at the end at least to keep your dealership, but at the same time, you also have the opportunity for Hote, as rare as it is.
Right, and calling the 4-so and dropping something like a South definitely puts pressure on the table. It really looks like you're Tempai at that point, because there's no way you have a South in your hand, unless that's your safe tile that you're saving for the Tempai call. And it looks like you're Tempai for a big hand too, Honitsu or Chinitsu. So it might even have gotten some of the other players to fold as well, and even if you don't make it to Tenpai in the end, you can at least avoid having to pay out in Ryukoku. However, we did
So
see
the argument,
the...
although admittedly, from what you said from before, like people are aggressive at the
That's
table,
true.
so that may not matter.
Right. Yeah, in the end, it was Nathan stealing away 1,000 points and shifting the dealership forward. And hoping to end this dealership quickly as well. We already saw the shot call west across the way, and there's a chance at even Chanta here, Chanta with Dora, if you can find the 8-pin. Vinny on the left, going Atozuke, calling this 2-3-4 shape away, and really hoping for the last Haku to come out. It always makes me a little nervous when one of those dragons is already discarded, as we see here. But open as well on the right, Jackson for Tanya. This is actually Tenpai winning on 4-7, so another hand that's just 1,000 points. And looks like our dealer, Kevin, is...
That's gotta be a chi. There you go.
Okay, the aforementioned West, Chanta, Dora, one hand, just looking for a 3-pin. There are 2 3-pins left in the wall, compared to the 4-7, which has 4, the 4-7 so. And we'll see.
And Vinny now switching for the Tenpai for Tanya at this point. I think, especially with that 4 so, like I don't know if they're gonna.
Although
actually, it's gonna be difficult because they discarded the 3 earlier.
Well, yeah. Also, they didn't call the 6-pin when it came out. There was that opportunity to do so, and instead, we're gonna see opponent of the 5. Arichi comes out.
It's just 8 only.
Oh, you're right. All the 5s are gone. So this is Richi Pinfu on the 5-8 so, but can only win on the 8, and there's only 2 left in the wall.
Oh,
there it is!
Gosh. Oh my gosh!
Richi Patsumo Pinfu. Ura as well. That's going to be a Mangan. 12,000 points for Kevin. What do you make of the side buy? Can Kevin pull it off again? I think.
It's a bit hard. I mean, you have the Dora, but it's also near the edge.
Yeah, it's... Oh, well, that's a good fill.
Oh my gosh.
That's a start. Cutting the east, because that's been twice cut already, so it's not very useful in this hand. And, I mean, the hand to the right, okay. This is exciting. We haven't had a Doko in about a week. Six is kind of difficult to make a Doko out of, but there is one 6-pin in the wall, and as far as the 6 is concerned, one of those as well. And if you're drawing those, you might as well get Suanko on top of it. South gets passed, and presumably this South will also get passed by Nathan across the way, who's building towards a Richi hand. And these shapes are awkward enough that it's going to be quite difficult, even though you have 2 door, and you'd really love to pull in a 3 so here. Oh, well, now it's Ishan 10. You filled one of the hard ones. In fact, there's a chance at 3-4-5 Sanchoku, so you can even open this hand, even though the South has come out twice. If the Dora Tuso comes out, I would strongly consider calling Pulm. Speaking of Pulm, there's a Haku. Ishan 10 now for Kevin.
What I was going to say is, like, Kevin was going to have a problem here because, like, you were going to get Tenpai rating for a Ryamen for no Pinfu, but that would have to either include the door or they'd have to discard it. With that call of the Haku, my guess was that they were going to keep the Sozu, the Dora, regardless at this point.
Oh my goodness, things are getting spicy here. Richi, Dora 2, waiting on the 3 so for our Toyman. That's Nathan. On the right. Oh, on the left, we have a Richi chasing this down. Richi Pinfu waiting 2-5. On the left, we drew the 6 so, and we're Ishan 10 for Suanko. But 3 so's in the wall. There's Ipatsumo with the Dora. That's the second Ipatsumo we've seen in 2 straight hands. And no Ura, but it is a Mangan. So Vinny coming right back into it. No Suanko this time. No Doko either. And that will move us into East 3. Jackson's turn as dealer. This has been quite exciting game. I mean, with the way the first two have gone, no surprises at all. But can Jackson put together a hand here? That 9-mon is a great draw. Now you've got a headless shape. It's very easily improvable, and it makes some of these weaker shapes better. The 1-2 so not very good. The 1-3-mon also not great. But if you pair one of those up, then all of a sudden you've got your head. So you can it allows you to hold these weaker shapes longer than you normally would feel comfortable doing. Nathan on the right also with good shapes as well, looking for a head and has the chance at Ipeko in the lower Pinzu, probably Ricci Pinfu over there. Across the way we have a Hatsu pair for Vinny, and this hand is already two away from Tenpai. With the door, we'll see how long he chooses to hold that. Actually forgoes the Hatsu call, so not necessarily aiming for a door Tanki here. On the left, Kevin has a lot of Mon tiles, and this likely shifts into a Mon Honitsu, especially with the Dora Pei being held. Awkward draw for our dealer, this North. But it is a pair candidate, so it will be held for a while. If you are Toyman here, Vinny, we have this Dora. If you draw around this 2-5 mon for Tenpai, do you take the Ricci on Hatsu 3-so? It is a little awkward with the Hatsu being once cut.
Yeah.
And of course you have to drop Dora to do it as well.
You have to drop the Dora, yeah. I mean, if it's the only Tenpai you got, then maybe.
Chooses to get rid of it now. Now that you have a really wide shape in the so it's a little unfortunate. You've already dropped the 5 and the 8, so you'd be 50-10 unless you can redraw that. But if you do find Tenpai and 2-5 mon, you don't have to take the 50-10 shape. You could still wait on 3-so Hatsu.
Yep.
In the meantime, Nathan's shape on the right is looking pretty awesome. It is still Ishanten, but there is a world where you could turn this into Dianpeko, especially if you can pair up one of these Mon tiles. Tenpai found first. Oh wait, that's actually not. It's not the right draw for Tenpai. I think just 2-so is normal here. And we have to fill in this Mon shape and the pin shape, but depending on how you fill that pin shape, you could end up with Diamond or you could end up with a Tonki. In the meantime, we do have Dealer Ricci in the third row, 16 draws remaining, and it's on the 2-mon, which has just come out. It's out twice now, and only one left in the wall for the Tsumo. I think the Ippat's Tsumo streak is going to be broken here. And, well, this is Tenpai found. Can you push the 7? Nathan had bailed out, did not feel comfortable pushing it before, and even though Tenpai was found, chose to continue to drop the 3 pins. Now, I think if Nathan redraws around the 7 pin, we'll probably drop the 2 pin for Tenpai, with it being one chance and so many of the 1 pins being discarded. So Nathan's not necessarily out of this hand just yet, but definitely don't want to be dealing into Dealer Ricci when that's your closest competition.
Yeah, I think the 9-mon was probably a bridge too far at that point.
And this will allow a safe tile for Nathan to discard on the last one. Out goes the 4-mon, and it will be 3,000 points for Jackson. Net 2,000, leaving 1,000 in the middle of the table as the Ricci stick was lost, temporarily, perhaps. Still, East 3, we have a couple of pairs. No Dora, but Dora Acceptance. Looking for a Ricci here. Depending on the draws, you could end up breaking away from the 9-so pair and turning this into Tanyao. But for the time being, we'll just play efficiently. To the right, Ichihime has reasonable blocks. I mean, the floaters aren't good in the other suits except for the Manzu, because you've got this 1-4-7 shape of the Pinzu. That's a little awkward. The 5 pin certainly helps with that. The 1-so can leave as well. So things starting to shape up here for Nathan. Still no Dora just yet. We see 2 of them across the way in Vinny's hand. Chance at Ipeco and Tanya for that one. And on the left, Kevin with multiple pairs here, 3 of them. And just calling for this north, trying to steal this Regi stick away, especially being in first place. You'd love to just increase your lead, even if only by 1,000 points or so. And shift things forward.
Yeah, it's not like the hand's going to be worth a lot anyway, so just take what you can get and run with it.
Yep, Ishanten already. Although Jackson drawing some pretty helpful tiles here. Still has a bit of work to do. And it's going to be hard when you're competing with 2 open hands. Vinny had opened across the way, going for Tanya Door too. Although if another 6-pin could be called, you'd have a Mongon there. Oh, that was an ideal tile. Headless, but good tile acceptance, good tempi acceptance here. Impressively, Nathan on the right has been drawing well in the Pinzu, is now actually Ishanten, or actually dropped away from the West pair. So no longer Ishanten, but it has the ability to draw into Ipeco. Uh-oh, what do you do here? I think 7-8 pin is kind of normal.
7-8 pin. You could have argued about discarding 7-8 pin for sure.
It is awkward because you're reliant on the 4 pin, but that does give you a Mongon.
Yeah.
And if you try to use the 6 as your... Oh, there's the 4. Well, now it looks like playing safe against this dealer Ricci. It's an interesting one. 9 pin 9 so. That's unusual.
You can cheat as 5 if you think you can discard the 7, because now you don't have to worry about that anymore.
It's spotted. Vinny will make that play. Waiting on 3 pin now. Yeah, good find. And this is a Mongon, so you definitely are willing to take this fight. Even though it's... you're in 2nd place and this is 3rd place. That's actually maybe even more incentive to take this fight. And I wonder how safe Nathan is reading this 3 pin to be. Can see all of the 4 pins.
Yeah, so they might think it's a 3-pin wall of some sort.
There's also 3 of the 2 pins out as well. Oh, there's another 3.
Never mind.
Well, that almost makes it look safer because it's harder for that to be a Shabo. If Nathan runs out of safety...
But like, you can probably discard the 8 so at this point. The 4 so...
Yeah, 4 pin is Nakasuji, so that will provide 3 tiles of safety.
Well, the 4 pin would be a fold because you already discarded the 5 earlier, so it'd be hard to make anything out of it that way.
Yeah, but
actually, you discarded 2 5s, so chances are, unless you're going for some type of cheat toy of some sort, I would imagine this is almost a give up by Nathan.
Yeah, given the way that Nathan's been playing this game, I do anticipate folding in this type of situation. I guess your concern is almost more the Dora 2 hand. It's difficult to play.
The problem is if they do run out of tiles, like they discard the 4, I guess you could probably discard the 8. But
yeah, they'll be safe now. There just aren't enough draws to make you worry. You have the 2-mon as well, so... Uh-oh, well...
Yeah.
Boom.
You weren't going to get away from that one, not with your Mongon hand, but it's just Ricci only. Definitely a fair fight for Vinny to take.
Yeah.
Alright, what hand looks the best here?
God. Vinny's Isha 10 for Chitoid or 2.
Oh, well, that's pretty good then.
I was going to say, because they had 5 pairs, and I'm just kind of like,
Oh, do you pawn this?
They had 4 pairs, and then they turned to 5.
I don't think this really qualifies for Toy Toy Dash.
Not with the 5 so and Dora. It just makes it really hard.
Yeah, if someone had randomly dropped the 6 pin, I think I'm calling pull. 5 so, I might even call that.
I mean, if I
one
got the
mon.
oh no, but I don't know if I wouldn't have necessarily kept the 7-pin myself, so I
Yeah,
probably would have.
it's not a cheat until
7
you have until you're Ishunten with 3 pairs in your discards. And Jack's just trying to speed things along here. Does need some very specific pin draws. 3-pin, 6-pin.
1
An interesting move from Kevin, aiming to fight back with a Sanchoku. 1, 2, 3
Yeah,
Sanchoku here.
Sanchoku's that's gotta be it.
Of course, if you chi the 8, so you can discard 2-mon and have Junchan as well. In fact, just going right for it, even here.
There's your Tenpai.
Damas. It is a
I'm
6,000.
guess I think it's gonna be a wait 1 turn Ricci.
It does really feel like it, doesn't it? Yeah.
Because I'm like, it's a tune, it's 1-dropped. Like, you can't not do that.
Yeah, it's
The only thing is that they haven't dropped Monzu, so you have to worry about that. Yada yada.
right.
And
Dama,
if you're worried about a Honitsu, then the tune suddenly becomes dangerous again.
exactly. So if you Dama that hand, you have 6,400 points plus Homba is 7,000 points. It's not a bad Dama.
It's not a bad Dama, but I would not be I personally wouldn't have been happy with it.
But if you Tsumo here, you get Hanamon. And if you find Ura, you have Baimon. So there's definitely a value play.
1
Chi for Tempai. Actually could have chosen the 9-so Tanki, which was Genputsu to the Richi, but instead chooses the 8-so. That's
So
actually
somebody's asking about, like, how can you improve from one's cut on our Chitoy? I think the answer here would have been if I had drawn an 8 or a 9-pin. I would have been more comfortable with that.
With a 2/7s cut.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, once cut honor is one of the strongest weights to have here. Though, of course, as you were mentioning, the weakness is if someone's believing that this is Honitsu for some reason, they might be more reticent to drop these honors.
And the problem is, the longer this goes on, the more likely there are to be safer tiles to discard.
Oh,
and okay, never mind.
There it is.
And people can just find other things. But yeah, I'll take your 8,000.
I know what I found, but that is a Mangan, putting Vincent definitely in the lead here. Actually, basically trading places with Kevin. And it is now Nathan's turn to be dealer. There's a door in hand, a couple pairs, not the most amazing shapes, and I think the North cut, as sad as you are to drop door early, it's almost necessary because you don't want to be holding onto that door too late, especially with early Yakuhai calls. Those hands could easily end up on door Tanki later. And we can see Kevin is actually fighting for East Honitsu, perhaps even door 2. To the right, Vinny's got 3 pairs. Okay shapes. Not the most amazing ones. Could turn into So Itsu. And on the left, those are better shapes for Tanya Pinfu. Especially if we can get the 4-so. And at what point, if you are Jackson on the left, do you start to call these tiles that Kevin's going to be discarding once you've recognized that it's a Honitsu play?
So I would probably have, if I was you to rush this down, I would start calling maybe once I got the 4-so at all. Because the issue is that you could call and then you could end up waiting on just the 4. But if you just don't care and you want to run it down, then you could just start calling.
Yeah, here I wouldn't call this one again. Just waiting on the 4, especially when I have a chance at 5, 6, 7 Sanchoku. If that was
one could have argued that with that 7 mon pair before 2 turns ago, that you could have discarded 2, 3 and guaranteed yourself the Tanyo. But
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, as it is, we do have a dealer Ricci. This hand has progressed pretty nicely. Ricci, Pinfu, waiting on 3-6 pin. Oh, but Kevin found Tempai. Haku, 1 Mon.
Dom.
And instead the 3 Mon comes out. The hand was Ishanten for Chitoy. It does lead into a lead to the deal-in. And Nathan will continue the dealership. We saw what Nathan can do with the dealership in the last game. Came back from 14,000 points to 44,000 points. Currently in 4th place still, but on the march. These shapes are pretty strong. Too many pairs, and not in the south rounds, so the south pair is certainly a little less useful here. But you have 3 Diabin shapes to fill.
Home.
To the right, Vinny is advancing forward. There's again an Itsu shell, but it could also just be Ricci Pinfu. You could even fight Tanyo here as well. Across the way, we did see the Hatsupon, and I'm sure Kevin will just be marching this down to the fastest when possible. On the left, that's a Haku pair up, and this is actually Ishanten for Jackson. We'll see what type of Tempai is found and what type of Ricci is taken. Or if Jackson even wants to just call the Haku or even go Otozuke. Here's the opportunity.
Home.
Call is made. Perhaps influenced a bit by the fact that Kevin has already opened up, just trying to match the speed. And winning this hand will also put Jackson back over 30,000 going into the south rounds. So it's certainly understandable to make this play. Of course, you are limiting the maximum value that the hand can be.
Home.
When you see this 7-so Pon, and now we see all the 7-sos, it always makes me a little uncomfortable about the 8-so being Dora. Because the only way you can use it is in multiples, and so even Jackson discarding this 8-so, it makes me feel a little bit uncertain. Yeah, I might be allowing a Pon for a Mangan.
True. And I mean, for somebody like Kevin, like that could easily be something to bait out in a way if you can set up that situation. But I mean, as long as you don't think it's too dangerous, you probably could just get rid of it and then
Home.
and just continue on with your hand because, like you said, there really isn't much. There's not going to be much use for it.
Well, we've entered the south round finally. It is Vinny who is in the lead with the dealership as well. Has lost a couple of cheap hands here, but won a pretty massive one to take this lead. Currently having some difficulty with these shapes. A lot of pairs, and I don't know if we'll see another cheat toy. That's what gave Vinny the lead in the first place. So maybe there's some recency bias that will push you in that direction. We have a call on the left already from Nathan, who has the chance to go for Honitsu, but it's not guaranteed. You have a very good block in the Monsoon, so no need to force it. Can also accept the Dora 2-pin. Across the way, those shapes are excellent, and what Jackson is really hoping for is a draw around the 7-pin, because there's already 2 6, 7, 8 shapes, one in the Monzu, one in the Sozu. So if you can draw another 6, 7, 8 in the Pinzu, get Sanchoku on top of everything else in this hand, you're looking quite good for a really valuable hand. One of the difficult things about aiming for something like that is you have to discard some tiles in order to make room for the 6, 7, 8 block. You don't want to drop the 2-pin because that's the Dora. So you have to find a pair somewhere else, and it probably would have to come from this 2-3 Mon shape. That shape is already quite good. So you will have to make some sacrifices in order to try to fit that in. And of course, the hand on the right, that's Kevin, who's got just excellent shapes everywhere. Looking for a Ricci Pinfu.
Yeah, Ricci Penfu, just that. With the game relatively close as it is, like Nathan's doesn't have the guaranteed manga just yet, but
Chi.
can certainly put themselves back into contention if they're able to convert this, assuming they go for the Honitsu, which is not necessarily guaranteed.
Yeah, we'll see what happens to the 7-pin. Can you call this 6, 7, 8?
difficult because then you're either left with a Conchan or
Gee.
Conchan 7-pin again,
Yeah,
or a Penchon 7-pin, as it were. Now, if you're going for the Honitsu, I guess, but it's basically forcing a Penchon weight is when going for a Honitsu is not ideal.
and we see. Yeah, it was actually 789, but you
Oh my
just know
gosh,
you're gonna
never
draw the
mind.
7-pin, then you might as well do it.
Uh,
2 5-pin is the weight. There's only one door 2-pin left in the wall. 5-pin has 3 tiles remaining, so 4 is pretty good for this weight.
Gee.
And this is a call into Tempai. Will be a Tonki weight. Chooses the Tonki 2 Mon. And I don't think this 2-pin is ever leaving dealer's hand here. It looks like dealer wants to do 7 pairs. Chitoi.
yeah, and you have to be worried about the Honitsu on the left.
Absolutely. Even these honor tiles are a little bit suspect, although the Haku just came out, so that one will pass. Oh no, 5-pin. You gotta hold that. Oh, but it doesn't. Doesn't stay in hand, and so that means that Nathan will pick up the 3,900 points and advance us into South 2.
I mean, maybe I don't. I mean, it's hard because again, the door is in that suit, so all they have to do is have one door to go along with a Honitsu, Yakahai Honitsu, and it becomes 8,000. So
Yeah, 5-pin certainly is the less likely tile to win on, I think, than compared to the 2-mon. However, it certainly has a much higher deal-in rate, and if you do deal in, it's probably going to be fairly expensive. So I'm slightly more inclined to play defensively there, even though I'm really hurting badly my chance to win the hand. In this case, this leaves Vinny as the only player over 30,000 again, and it's now Kevin's dealership. Reasonable hand here. 2 away from Tempai. Ooh, that's an interesting draw. This actually allows you to shift towards Tanya. You can discard the 9-pin and have a 2-4-6 Diankan shape in addition to these 2 pairs. You can also draw 1 so or 4 so and work towards you have him wait that way.
yeah, the issue becomes the fact that you have 2 awkward shapes. The fact that you have the 5-7 Conchan and the 2-4, technically the 2-4-6 Ryoncon, if you want to look at it that way. That 9-pin discard is a hedge, I think, because you could have the Ipeko with the 6-7-8 pin. If you still draw the 1 so, then you're definitely look at something hopefully pinfu-ish, or assuming you can find a pair somewhere. And then, or you could just call for some type of Tanyao if you need to.
Yeah, it really moves you in the Tanyao direction. I think that's actually a kind of tricky cut to make, but it certainly makes sense. We saw a call to the right. This is not a Tempai that has a Yaku involved, so this hand's probably going to be stuck for a while. On the left, it is a very interesting play for Honitsu, and is looking for the Chun here.
I guess they're going to try to fake the Honitsu point, but it's hard because you discarded both the 9s and the 8.
Yeah, it definitely makes it look like you're Otozuke with an 8 so pair. We'll see how the rest of the table reacts to this. Multiple pairs for Kevin now. This is Chitoi Shunten all of a sudden. And Toyman also drawing into more pairs. You don't really want all these pairs. So yeah, the 8 pin just leaves the hand. Jackson keeps drawing good tiles, but not particularly helpful with the current hand state. This is a 369 weight though. And for Jackson, the play here is, of course, Haite Tsumo. But you've got 16 draws to pass before you can get there. The Honitsu on the left has not really made much progress. There's a Hatsu draw. That actually could help.
1
But Kevin's going to choose to wait on the Hatsu. It's not going to come out. Shonpai Hatsu versus Suji Trapped 7-mon is an interesting choice, especially with so many of these Mon tiles having been cut already. I actually think the 7-mon wait's
7
not
Mon
that
could have been
bad.
better.
Yeah.
7 Mon could have been better at this point.
But I think Kevin is concerned that the Hatsu just deals in on the right. Because what else
That's
could that
fair.
hand be?
Right, and you're it's like, well, what else do they have? And the answer is actually nothing.
Well, this 9-pin.
4
Dama Pinfu from Ichihime. And that will win 2,000 points. We didn't end up making it to Ryukyoku in the end. And that will put Nathan over 30,000, as well as Vinny going into South 3. Again, this is the point in the game where everyone pays very close attention to their goals here. We want to be over 30,000 at minimum for a positive score, but the first place is not that far ahead, only 35,400. So really, every player at this table has a chance to take first here. And it's Jackson who is the dealer, the chance to go on a bit of a run here. We do have the Hatsu pair, so we can call and move quickly for a dealer repeat. And that might be necessary because these other hands are looking very strong. Already quite fast on the right. Not quite Ishanten because we have too many diamond shapes now, an overlapping one. Spoiled for choice here. You might even just cut 1, 2 and go for Tanyao. You could also just say, I don't like the overlapping Mon shape and drop either the 3-4 or the 6-7. However, you do get to incorporate 2 Dora by holding, potentially, by holding both of those shapes. Yeah, difficult choices here for Nathan. And chooses instead to just drop the So tiles. Is that the discard you would make? It's not an easy choice.
Yeah, it isn't.
I think one of the downsides of dropping the So shape is that, well, now you can't really use any So tile for the rest of the game.
And
本
I think the only thing I would consider is the fact that my 2 Ryanman in Mon shapes are both including the 5, which is the Dora,
Right.
and it's a central tile, and it's now the Dora. How likely are you going to get at least one of those, if not both? So I wouldn't have minded if you discarded one of the Manzu sides. I don't know which one I would have discarded. Maybe. Yeah, you could have argued either way, actually.
Yeah,
So-
3-4, 6-8 both make sense in terms of raw efficiency. And since one of the 2 Mon had already been cut, 3-4 would technically be more efficient.
If you didn't discard that and you wanted to hold on to the So's, the only other option, really, and I know this sounds weird, would be to discard the 1, 2, 3 pin.
Yeah. Oh, and it makes some sense in a way because you can discard the 1 and the 2 and then discard the 5 pin later and have the 6s as your pair.
本
But okay, there's the Hatsu. This is the moment that Jackson's been waiting for. Finally, Tempai. It's an awkward shuffle on
Eat.
6-mon 7-so, and it will be chased down by Kevin on the left. Richi Itsu potential. At the very
On the
least,
six.
Richi Pinfu Dora. With the 6-mon would be Itsu.
Yeah, they're both waiting on the 6.
Yeah. Ooh, 6-mon from Toyman would be a double roll. And Toyman, of course, is Tempai waiting on just the 6-pin. Of course, the 9-pin is lighting up, but that would not give a Yaku. But that is Tanya Dora 3, so of course, you're going to fight with it. You just got to hope you don't draw 6-mon. For the 3-6-mon wait, there is...
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh, this would improve
Uh-oh.
the shape, but that
Don't.
deals in.
Yeah, as soon as I saw the 7, I'm like, oh, that's not good.
Reach
You don't want-
Pinfu. Itsu. Dora the Ura for Hanuman. That's tragedy for Jackson. And Kevin will actually take the lead after a South 3 Hanuman. What a huge hit. And Kevin just needs to hold this lead, but it's Nathan who is the dealer, and this hand does look quite strong. Oh, and great fill. Do you just 9-mon here? Yeah, out it goes. Norbit, 4567 Mon, 4567 Pin, Diancon, Diancon in the Sozu, and the ability to call the tune. Looking quite strong for a dealer repeat.
Boom.
Oh, Kevin has something to say about this, though. This is already Ishanten headless, with the South as the Yaku.
I see in this case with even if it's a no cut honor, if they somehow get Tempai like in here and just and wait on the Hatsu, like they're likely to win this hand.
Yeah, especially because it's early on. If it hasn't been cut, but it's early, you'd expect it to come out without too much trouble.
Yeah,
If
and
it's
there we go.
We'll wait on the once cut Hatsu at this point. Still two in the wall, but Chun Onko drawn. This is Ishanten for Nathan. And Nathan has
The
so
4-6
many
the
draws for
4-6
Tempai.
is correct, in my opinion.
Yes, I agree. No need to greed for 456 Sanchoku.
If he had known that Kevin was Tempai, I think you might have taken that chi, especially since it was the Dora.
Oh, I take that
Because it
chi
was like,
regardless.
yeah,
5,800, please.
but
And
they didn't. So now we're just gonna have to see what happens here.
yeah, and this is something that I've noticed
Yeet.
from Nathan's game. Shoot tends to stay closed, and this is going to deal
That's
in
it.
Boom.
1,000 only, plus the Ricci stick from Jackson, and that will mean Kevin is grabbing the first place here, plus 26.3, another good result for him. Vinny takes the second, plus 10.4. Nathan, another positive finish, though. I think Nathan's finished positive in every single game we've seen, plus 1.7, continuing the good streak of results here. And Jackson will take the fourth, negative 38.4. Standings update. There we go. Nathan still third place overall. Kevin continues to climb, pretty close to catching David for fourth place overall in these C1 standings. And Jackson dipping down a little bit further here. There were a lot of twists and turns in that matchup.
Outside of unfortunately what happened to Jackson, there certainly was a lot of movement back and forth in the game.
I mean, Kevin was not always in the lead here. Had actually dealt into Mungon earlier, but came back. And I think for Kevin, who's also had a very good series, is just showing that by playing with strong efficiency and knowing the right moments to back away, you could do quite well. I do want to point out as the final game is about to start. Oh, actually, I think they've already started it. There was a small break in between these two, but they just hopped straight into the fourth. I was gonna take a peek at the results from the other games that have been going on tonight, but I'm not sure we'll have the time. No, they're already into it. 4 discards in fact. So this is the fourth and final game of the evening. It was nice to see one table all the way through, see how they interact with each other, especially because I do believe that particularly Kevin and Nathan have been making some plays that you normally wouldn't make without knowing a little bit about the play style of your opponents. And having played 2 or 3 games already against these players, they've recognized that there's a little bit of aggression at this table, and so you can maybe fight for a little bit more value than you normally would be able to. And it's certainly been paying off for those 2 players in particular. As we enter East 1 of game number 4 here, already a door opponent on the right.
Yeah, but it's definitely going to have to look Otozuke at this point, waiting for the Haku, which is unfortunately it's Mochi Mochi.
Yeah, Kevin. Sorry, that's Nathan on the right, who might be.
Oh,
well,
okay, so that was given up because there was a chance of
Pinfu.
Vici Pinfu.
Yeah,
Chi.
and all of a sudden, the hand on the right does become very scary. Ooh, Chi into Tempai, waiting on Sanzo. Will Sanzo take it home again?
G.
Give it. Oh, okay, I was gonna say it might come out, but they're going for the. I forgot. They're
Itsu Tenpai.
Vinny for the Itsu, so they were never gonna discard
Kang.
that three.
Khan. Oh, Khan into flipping a Dora. 7 still the door, but that also helps Vinny's hand.
So if Jackson decides to hold on to Sanzo, he will be forever stuck in Tenpai.
Yeah. And Kevin has this one so that does need to come out. But
And will deal in.
it looks like Kevin might be concerned about this actually. Oh. Oh no.
Well, not anymore.
Yeah, that 4-so comes out, and now the 1-so is totally live. Kevin's out. Kevin's not going to deal into either
Now,
of
that's
these two
interesting
Tenpais.
because that's interesting in the sense that like if the 4 is safe and you were afraid of the 1, unless it was and that means you wouldn't put Vinny on the 1-so as a Tonki of some sort.
Right.
So the only person you'd really be worried about is across the way.
Yeah, but also remember Nathan's got this Tenpai for the
No.
Mangan. And I think that's the player that Kevin was more concerned about here. It will be Vinny dealing in to the 8,000 points. And Nathan off to another good start in this one. And good dealer hand as well. 4 pairs, but probably not going to be 7 pairs, as the shapes are quite strong here. We'll see if a tune call is made. To the right, Jackson. Not the best shapes here, but there are 2 Dora, so you could just work your way towards Tanya. You could even hedge things like dropping the 9-so and holding on to the south and east a little bit longer than you normally might, hoping to pair that up. Across the...
Chito Ishanten now for a dealer.
Oh, wow. And
But they could easily turn this into a Honitsu.
So if you pair up the east, would you just take your Tenpai, or would you consider dropping 6-0, 6-0? Because Chitoi's dealer.
Yeah, Chito is dealer, but you don't hold the Dora, so it's a little bit awkward. You are dealer though, so then it
choice is made.
Could get, yeah, choice is made, but like it's really how you feel about it. And I think with considering that the table's willing to push, if your weight's going to be 8-9 pin or something like that, then I could easily have seen you declare Ricci on Chitoi, just Chitoi only, because people are just not gonna. It could just easily just deal in.
Chi.
Well, we've seen the 5-pin and 4-pin call, so this is Ishanten for the dealer. Also a 7-8-9 call to the left, so that's Kevin aiming for an Itsu, trying to shut this down. Itsu Dora 1. And that was another pair drawn for Vinny across the way, but chose not to keep all of those pairs. Is holding this 3-mon.
You could have cheated that 9-pin.
Yeah, I think cheat 9-pin into Tenpai is fine, even though you are just Bakahon.
Because I mean, it's already okay. Well, I guess now you're Tenpai, but you could also just go for the Toy at this point.
Yes, maybe getting a little bit rewarded here. It is difficult that 2 of the 9-pin have come out, so you can't pawn that anymore. And if you do pawn the 7, then you're only waiting on the tune here. If you pawn the tune, do you choose the Toy that only wins on the 7-pin, or do you go for the 6? 6-9 only wins on the 6 either. So
6. So you're kind of
you might as well just Toy.
Problems either way.
7-mon pawn, and Jackson is shifting to the Tanya route. We sort of suspected that would be the case. This 8-so isn't very helpful here, so it should come out over the 3. The reason you hold
it should have, because you have a Ryankon, you could have accepted the 4.
Exactly. Oh, here's a 5.
Khan.
Flipping the 2-so to be Dora. That helps Toyman out. Nobody else. Oh, Dora, I think we call this. Yeah, pull and drop 8-so makes a lot of sense to me.
There you go.
And now we have Dora 3, so everyone has to pay pretty close attention to us as well. Us being Jackson. On the left, I think Kevin's going to start to bail. Kevin might have already started bailing with the early 5-mon cut. And we'll see how Vinny chooses to play it.
Problem is, Jackson is kind of like is going to end up being stuck here because the 8-pin might actually come out now that the tune is drawn.
Yeah. There it goes.
And then now you can actually get your 10 by. But up until then, you were pretty much stuck because all the 5-pin were already accounted for.
Well, here's the
So
problem.
the only thing that was left was the 8.
Now, the problem with this discarding the 3-so is now we have to wait on 6-so, and there's only one left.
Actually is infinitely better than what Nathan has at this point.
That's true, Nathan. Well, I guess it's the same, right? Both of the winning tiles are being held by Vinny for both players.
That's fair.
But Vinny at least knows that Pinzu is really bad, and not necessarily the same for Sozu. If you subscribe to Nakasuji theory, 6-so is safe, right? Oh, pulling into a Tonki weight could be really strong here.
Boom.
And chooses the 7-so. But Vinny's got enough safe tiles to get out of here safely, presumably.
Unfortunately, Vinny has those tiles too.
But there's one 7-so on the wall. It's not drawn. And that means we are going to be going to Ryukyoku.
Here's the funny thing. You could have made an argument for discarding that 7-so and waiting on the 1. Why? Because Hote.
Yeah.
Because if you look at across the way, it's like, this is Tanya. This has to be Tanya. They have to be 10 by for Tanya. And if you discard the 1-so, suddenly, and obviously he probably did just because Jackson discarded the 1-so.
Right.
But if you could also made an argument, just discard the 1-so. It's like, there's no way this pays in until it's Hote.
Yeah, and in this instance, the once the 7-mon got cut in favor of the 1-so, Vinny would have also followed with a 7-so because that would be getting at that point. But
that's fairly likely. But that could have been. If you think about it.
Yeah, if you just autopilot, say no, there's no way it's the 1-so, and 1-so is also safe to the Honitsu player. If you just autopilot that, you could actually catch somebody off with that. That would be incredibly sneaky, but it didn't end up happening in this instance. I'm not surprised, Edwin, that you'd be thinking about that sort of thing. I know you're always looking for those sneaky weights.
It's not this. It's sneaky in the sense that it's just more of, and you can run this joke back to me. Surely they can't be waiting on that tile, right?
Well, they are. Don't call me Shirley.
Thank you.
In this instance, Dealer has this lone Dora and decides to get rid of it in favor of a block. Ishot 10 for Dealer, but an interesting hand on the right. Multiple pairs. This Chitoi Ishot 10. No Dora, though. Across the way, we've got... Oh, these are rough shapes. 2, 4, 6, 8 in the Sozu is not very good. I almost just want to turn this into Honitsu. Especially because the 3-so has been cut already. I'm not sure how that happened. But certainly difficult to make a hand from the current state. And on the left, we have Kevin with Tanyao type shapes. The problem again is this Dora. At least you know it's safe to the dealer, but it's difficult to incorporate into the hand super easily without drawing a 3-pin.
Here's the thing. I don't think that Vinny has necessarily punted the Honitsu.
Oh no.
The Hatsu discard was because there was already one discarded, and they had other things to work with, and they've already voided their Manzu suit, so that could actually be the play. Though I will be honest, usually if you try to go for that and your hand's fairly broken, then your best option is to just void yourself of the suits and then just keep as many of the honors as possible in case you just happen to pair one up, because you don't really care if it's actually a Yakuhaya or not. You just want it there so you can call it.
This hand is oddly coming together. I mean, the 1-pin call was passed, and that was your last chance to call Pon there. But it almost looks like a hand.
Yeah, but it's basically a Ricci hand only still. There's no value in it, especially once you discarded the 4-pin.
Right, and now you have a dealer Ricci to contend with, so at this point you're probably just folding.
Well, the dealer did discard the Dora, so you have to wonder
1.
how valuable their hand is. But given the status of your hand, you really shouldn't mess with this.
Now, Kevin will choose to fight here. It is Ricci.
Dom.
No, Dora, and the 3-pin comes right out. Oh, that was not clearly safe, but it was not even Tempai. Yeah, fighting from Ishan 10 comes back to bite a little bit, and the Ipatsu is going to turn this into a Mangan for Kevin, who is chasing Nathan down. And this is something that is always really important to consider as you play more and more and more. Which hand is worth fighting for from Tempai, and which hand's worth fighting for from Ishantan. A lot of times you have a lot of incentive to fight from Tempai, but to move that one Shantan back, Ishantan, and all of a sudden you lose a lot of that incentive. In this case, I'm not sure if that hand was worth fighting for given the lack of Dora presence. And this hand, of course, Jackson would love to pull off, as it is double East if you can find one. Unfortunately, those are in the wall. But once you get that call, you can get this hand rolling.
Well, the East is one of them sitting in Vinny's hand, and it might come out if they decide to go for the Chinitsu.
You're right. I did miss that East. I mean, it's either going to be Honitsu or Chinitsu at this point, and it's really, really strong for Vinny that he's already got a 7-pin in hand, even with the 7-pin pull. Other players will think the 9-pin is really difficult to use, and it is for them, but Vinny has a way to make it work. So I wonder if we'll see a pawn here. You could even use the 9-pin as the pair. Pawn. Looking for the 6 or the final 9.
No, the final 9's already been discarded.
You're right.
If it hadn't been discarded, I would have advocated for the pawn because, again, how could you have the last 7 and the 8 waiting on the last 9?
Right. There's no way.
Because the last 9's been discarded, now it's only the 6, and so that becomes a lot more awkward.
It's one of the things that's really interesting is seeing Kevin play this one out. Hatsu came out, and then this Tuso, not willing to drop the 6-pin out. Does Kevin believe this is Tempai after 2 calls and a pay cut? It looks like not enough. The 6 trials out the
not
6,
enough.
And it does pass.
See, at this point, if you decided to chi at the 7, 8, 9, then you have the pair of 9s. You know that's locked in as your pair, which, I mean, I guess that could be a problem later, that you could consider that a problem later on, considering you have the 2 5-pin.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not in a position where you're totally locked in like you are with the 7, 8, where you're having to wait on just one side of it.
Yeah, in this position, you're pretty reliant on the 6-pin. If you had like a 9-pin 4-5-5, 2-4-5-5 shape, there's a world where you could turn that around to sequences. Yeah, it's not a super straightforward decision, I don't think. And we'll see if this pans out. There are still several 2 6-pins left in the wall. Oh, as I say that, they're all getting drawn, and Jackson can actually use that one.
Yeah, and there's already been 2 3-pins discarded too, and that's your other thing you have to fill in.
Toyman, Kevin, actually, this hand's coming together here, but needs to call Poland. Some of these tiles missing. Haku, unseen.
Oh,
Shah,
okay,
unseen.
So could you have made an argument to pawn the 5, maybe?
Yes, I think you can.
I think you could have.
Oh, actually, 8-pin is dead.
Sure.
That does make it more difficult. 2-pin also twice cut. Yeah, that does make it trickier. If those tiles... Oh, no, all the 3s have come out now. So I think this hand's almost unwinnable.
Yeah. It's very close, if not.
Chi.
There's a chi into Tempai. Jackson just looking for the East, and Kevin and Vinny both have one to discard.
Well, Kevin won't discard it until they get... well, actually, both of them won't discard it unless they get Tempai.
I'm not sure that Kevin will discard it at all, because with this call, there's only one thing the hand can really be. Oh! With this hesitation,
nope.
maybe you read it. No, okay, dodges the east discard. And that will go to Ryukoku Jackson, picking up 3,000 points, 1,000 from each player. So when that 6-0 comes out, Jackson is in a state of temporary Fruity 10. With that long delay on the 6-0, do you ever read that as like Atozuke becoming temporary Fruity 10 and then try to push the east in that, like right there?
You can't because of the Honitsu on the right.
You're
with
right.
Vinny.
Yeah,
because you don't know who has it. Like
right.
they could both easily have it.
Well, I wonder. I think the dragons might have cleared, and if that's the case, then Jackson's hand could only be east. But it also could have just been a play for K10 as well, like a missed Tanyao that just needed to call that 9-mon to get to Tenpai. So yeah, I think you're right. You can't necessarily try pushing that out there. Interesting to think about. We do see a Hatsu call on the left for Nathan, trying to pick up this hand and shift things forward. Dealer draws into the east. That's one. If you can pull another one in, we might have double east possibilities. But we're going to see an early Ricci from Toyman. Ricci, Tanyao, Pinfu. I guess Tanyao's not guaranteed.
Pinfu. Ricci, Pinfu. Oh, that one could easily come out. They might drop the... Yeah.
Don't.
I mean, you could make an argument of dropping the east first, but yeah, it's the one mon in this particular case is it's very likely to come out, and there it went.
Yeah, and so the one mon did not give the Tanyao, so only 3,900. But we do move into East 4, and it is Vinny's dealer turn. Doors the 2-pin. We can accept that into hand. The shapes are very bad. Oh, and that's not... I mean, it helps us. It gives us another block, but it's not really a strong block either. So really just hoping for some better draws. To the right, those are some good draws for Kevin. 2 tiles away from Tenpai, actually, with a chance to Ipeco in the upper Sozu. Across the way, Nathan...
Jackson's Ishan 10 at this point.
Wow.
They just filled in the 6-pin Kanchan.
Those Kanchan fills are amazing, and that tile is even an improvement there.
Because now you have your pair.
So really just floating around this 3-so to find Tenpai.
Or 4-mon. 3-so 4-mon.
Right. Some of the 4-mon draws are a little less... Oh, no. There goes the Haku, because of course.
Yeah, but again, like, what are you going to do with it, right? You're going to get Yakuhai, maybe?
Yeah, Ricci, Shampon. It might not be amazing. Oh, and that 6-pin's great, too. Now we have floaters in the Sozu and the Pinzu with chance at Ipeco.
Well, you guarantee Tanya at this point, too, unless you draw the 2-so.
Yeah, so this is going really well for Jackson. Of course, Nathan, we saw across the way, has 2 Dora, and could even... This is a little difficult. Dropping away from a pair makes sense when you have so many.
Each.
And this is just Ishan 10 for
that
Pifu.
Is not the ideal thing that you wanted.
Oh no, this Shaba wait's very sad, especially with the 6-pin being bad. Yeah, it's
you almost want to kick it back.
Yeah, I actually think the correct play is to throw the 6-pin back. But it's so hard to do that, and we're gonna see a chase here. I know Nathan likes to play defensively, but I think you just have to. Adama might even be strong here because 1-pin looks pretty safe, having come out early from Jackson's hand.
The 1-pin might be safe because of the early Dora discard.
Right. Of course, the last 2 1-pin in the wall, and Nathan's sticking with his Dama. 7-pin was safe. 8-pin's relatively safe. So it doesn't necessarily look like he's pushing yet. 9 so is also Suji. The players around the table will recognize that Nathan is not discarding straight Genbutsu tiles. 9 so is Genbutsu there. Here's the 1-pin. Now we'll see. Dodged. Dodged for now. And a call to Tenpai, but there's the Tsumo on the expensive side. Sumo, Pinhu, Ipeko, Dora 2. That's a Mongon. And Nathan now grabbing the lead right back. Oh, that
This is one
cheat.
that's one of those cases where it's like you change the flow by the cheat. It's like yes, and then suddenly no.
I mean, that was a cheat into Tempai from Kevin. Just you're not expecting that to lead into your demise. I guess it wasn't really Kevin's demise. It's still in a pretty good position, but oh, looks like we've got a little bit of a freeze here. Yeah, it definitely favors Nathan in that situation. But going into the South round, it is the two players at the top of the leaderboard in first and second place here. Kevin now hoping to strike back. Unfortunately, Nathan is opening up quickly. Yishanten already with 2 Kanchans to fill. The door is the north. One has been cut already from Nathan, and it's followed by Vinny. Vinny's looking for a Ricci Pinfu on the left.
Oh my gosh, that's a great five mon fill right there. Now you don't have to worry about the 6.
Oh, you could even get 5-6-7 Sanchoku here. A 4-5-6 possible as well, but there's a 7-pin draw. Okay, question: if you fill the mon shape, do you reach it on the Kanchan 7? If you draw the 7 mon.
Kanchan 6?
Yeah, Kanchan 6. Sorry.
Well, okay, so if you don't, it's just Tanya Sanshoku. I mean, if you're looking for points, you reach this. But
and you don't even need to take the Sanchoku if you draw the 7. You could just say I have Pinfu, Tanyao, Ricci, and guarantee 1 Yaku.
Here I don't understand why you kept the 5 and discarded the 7. Because it's not like as if you're getting any closer there.
Each.
That is interesting. Well, now we have a Ricci to contend with. Jackson across the way takes Ricci on the 3-6 mon. Ricci Pinfu. 6-pin does not look good. You have 9 so to start, but it's difficult to follow that. Maybe you can trust Sotogawa with the 8 pins. I mean, if you're doing that, you actually might just drop the 8 pin there and take the Genbutsu 7-pin weight. I think I actually like that.
Yeah,
a little bit better.
Yeah.
Door is twice cut. Do you trust it? Nathan does. Yeah, this is difficult for both of the players.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to justify discarding that 8, so...
It looks like Kevin's just out of here. Nathan at least has a chance back into Tempai here.
Ricci.
And Vinny's gonna fight. Was not looking at that hand, but...
It's just 7-pin, though.
Now this is a desperation Ricci. 7-pin is Genbutsu to the original Ricci, though.
Yeah, but given what Vinny's discarded, it's not something you discard, though, into it.
Right. Oh, just became Suji.
There should be sufficient tiles to get around it, though, right?
Yeah, Itsu's fine. 8-pin is the play. Interesting.
I think the only reason why the 8 so is a little bit hesitant is just because it's 0 cut.
Right.
So you might be worried about some type of, like, Shampong weight or something.
It's Suji, but you're kind of wondering where they are. Why you haven't seen any yet. But it does end up passing here. And I did see an Anko. That is Vinny. Chun Anko to start us off. But the door is actually the Hatsu. And dealer has one of those. Lots of pin tiles here. Actually, chooses to drop the door immediately. What do you make of that?
You have other tiles. You can discard the 9-1, for instance, because you could easily go for a Honitsu and incorporate the Dora. Discarding something like a 9-1 to start is to me would have been better.
I have seen Nathan discard honor tiles, honor Dora early on in several hands, but usually they've been like off wins, less so the dragons, or Nathan would have like a Tanyao hand, a very clear Tanyao hand that can't really use it. This was more This one felt more like I just want to get it out of my hand before someone can use it.
Yeah, but if you have a Honitsu possibility, I mean, unless you get to the point where you just think it's going to be my Tonki weight or something like that, and I'm going to have to call to get there, and who's going to discard Dora into a Honitsu, then I can see why. Um,
just just fill everything and all your choices will work out. Do you like 9
yeah,
pin
but what do
here?
you? What,
Two
yeah,
pin? 2 pin for the Diancon?
um,
This gives
yeah,
you the
you're gonna.
2 2 4 6 6 shape is pretty good.
Yeah, if you wanted value, I guess you discard the 2 pin because then you have you have what, the 2 4 6 and the 6 7 8 still with the pair with the nines as your pair. So you technically have a Ryonkong shape right there at that point.
Yeah, but this is actually similar
And then
and slightly stronger.
is it?
The,
Oh, because
Boom.
you're looking at 2 3 5 6.
yeah,
If you're just trying to get tempai, then yes. If you're trying to look for value, then yeah.
yeah, this will not get pinned through, but it is Tempai with the Yame weight, and we will see the Ricci taken. Ooh, Dora drawn! Oh, Jackson really needs the door here. She is Tempai, but it's not the
No,
value.
for no Yaku, you can't do it.
Yep, let's slide by.
I mean, the only thing you can do now is pawn the 4 5 or the Hatsu.
Yeah, I'm wondering if there was a better cut than the north there.
Mm,
Maybe just go 8 so 7 so and aim for Toy Toy with Tempai, of course, if
yeah,
you pawn the Hatsu.
actually, that would have been because if you'd done that, then you would have had the 4 4 5 5 6 shape, and so you could have pawned the Hatsu, had the North as your pair, and then you'd be waiting for 3 6, which, as dealer has discarded the 6, is safe to them. So
Instead of Tsumo found, Ricci, Tsumo, and Nogura 1000 all, plus a Honba, and we will carry on this dealership. And Dora in hand, a couple pairs. It seems like it'll be another play efficiently, but the hand that's drawing my attention is, well, clearly the one on the left. And it's only
well,
getting
especially
better.
after that now.
Amazingly, with all those bond tiles, there's no Dora. Dora 6-mon, not seen in that hand.
What I'm hoping is they don't call at this point because it's still way too early. They can afford to wait a little bit before trying to open it because again, we're talking about a difference of at least 4,000 points when if you open versus close, right? Because it's either an open Chinitsu is just a manga, whereas a closed Chinitsu is a Hanuman. And then not to mention the fact that you could incorporate the Dora as well.
Yeah, I guess
So
the only exception to that would be if the Dora was the call, but it's so unlikely that you'll see a Dora come out so early. But yeah, now we look closely at that hand and try to read the possible draws that will be useful. Oh, Tsude comes out.
the only useful draw actually is like the 7, I think, because you can draw the 6, but then your weight's actually just the 7. If you draw another 7, then you can reach and then you're waiting on 6, 8, 9.
Yeah, we do want a 1-4 is going to be useful here too. We do see a pawn on the right. Jackson is looking for double south, maybe even Toy Toy as well. Dealer's hand is progressing fairly nicely here, 2 away from Tempai. There's the 7. We do see a pawn call. So this is Ishanten for Kevin.
Yeah, I don't know if you take. Do you take that? I don't know if you take. I don't know you take that.
It's really awkward. You do lose the 9-mon, which I guess is twice cut. And you can still incorporate the 6-mon into this hand, so it's not the worst.
Because I guess you could make this into Tanyao Chinitsu, and then that's your 12,000, even if you don't incorporate the Dora. But like your calls to get like you're eating quite a few here because you already have your ongo of 2 and 3 mon, right? So you'd have to what can you actually call to get Tenpai is the thing, and the answer is actually not. I don't think that much.
Yeah, we can grab 1/4 still. And of course, the 6 mon would be ideal. That would be the best one possible.
Yeah, I just don't necessarily agree with that 7 mon pawn because it really isolates a lot of things here.
Yeah,
Because your flexibility was in the 7-7-8.
Oh no! Just after Tenpai was found, Jackson did manage to draw the double south, but will deal in immediately. And that does kill the extremely expensive Mongon hand on the left. And Nathan continues this dealership. Yeah, regarding the call, it's always a balancing act, right? You've got players, I guess Jackson had opened up once already, and so you're feeling a little bit of pressure to advance your own hand. Yeah, I don't think I mind the call, even though it's the difference between, it can be the difference between Mongon and Hanemon. Personally, I don't mind it, but you do, like you said, you really need those lower so tiles. And Vinny, I have to say, did an excellent job of not dropping any Mon tiles. He recognized what was going on.
Yeah, I think that's the other thing too, is that like what here's the because once you also pawn the 7, it's like, well, they must be getting close to have called it then. And then like you then have to worry, well, are they trapping me on the higher Mansu tiles by calling the 7? If they are Tenpai, then that makes all the Mansu pretty much dangerous at that point. While some people in chat said like they do have a lot of weights technically to draw. It's because of the fact that was the most flexible part of the hand. I'm just not sure that was necessarily the right call to do. I don't want to necessarily say that they shouldn't have called it, period, but I'm not sure that call specifically was the right one.
Yeah. Well, we have some exciting action here. It looks like we'll have So Honitsu versus, or Chinitsu perhaps, versus a pin Honitsu. A con of the Dora to the right has revealed the 3-pin to be Dora, so that increases the value of Vinny's hand. And the other two players are just trying to do their best to find a Tenpai that doesn't deal in. I mean, dealers Ishanten. On the left, we have... Oh, hold that thought. Tenpai across the way. That is just Honitsu Dora 1. But if the shot comes out, you can call that for Mangon. Or just draw it.
Or just draw it yourself.
And you can East cut here. But chooses the Tonki instead. 7-pin looks a bit weak here, with it being twice cut.
Depends on how you look at it.
That's true.
If they do put you on the Honitsu, then maybe the 7-pin's bad. The other thing is, why would they discard the 8 to wait on the 7 after they called for 3 6s?
Yeah, I mean, if any of these players draws it, it can't be used in their hand. We know Kevin doesn't want it. We know Nathan doesn't want it. And Jackson's going for a Chinitsu, so can't use it, period. This is Tenpai.
I don't necessarily faulted them for switching to a north weight. They could have easily switched to that north.
Yeah, north is a fun weight here. We do have Kevin aggressively fighting for this Ricci, even though there's a con of Dora in one player's hand, and Honitsu in the second Dora suit for another player.
I like keeping the 7-pin right now. That was a good chance. Even if it was the Karagiri or the 4-pin, I like keeping that 7-pin as the weight right now. Because 7-pin's now safe to the Ricci.
Yes.
So if the last 7-pin ever shows itself, that is like it's gonna come out.
Wrong.
But won't get the chance to.
Nope, instead 7 Mon's gonna come out into Ricci Nomi. No Uda flip. If Vinny had been able to declare Ricci, that would have been pretty spectacular. But in the end, it's Kevin picking up a few sticks and sending us into South 3. Dealer Jackson has Dora 1, and a couple of weak shapes. Lots of honor tiles to work through. And as Jackson works through those, we can look at Vinny's hand. This looks a little bit more standard. Perhaps you can think about Itsu, but in all likelihood, it's going to be a Tanyao and perhaps a Dora for this hand. Across the way, Kevin has, oh, these are nice shapes. So shape could do with a little bit of work. You have a 579 Diankan, but in all likelihood, you'll end up with a Tanyao here. And on the left, we've got good shapes for this hand as well. You can call the south. We are in the south round, but this is just Ishanten, so no need to get too aggressive with it. Oh, now you have a bunch of pairs. Do you like
Yeah,
3-pin cut
but
here? 5 so?
yeah, see that's going to be for more. It's not really more standard because you're south. There's no pin through here because of the south. Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, but I think most of your cuts here would involve losing one of your pairs anyway. So Chitoi not.
So they're gonna try to hedge for me for in Richie Ipe, Richie Yakuhai Ipe, or instead of Yakuhai Ipeko,
Yeah.
or something like that, I guess.
Yeah, this makes a lot of sense. You can still draw your 2-5 Diamond for the 7-pin weight. You can also draw the 7-pin itself for the Ipeko. You could call the south for Tempai. Oh, this is very flexible for Nathan here. We also have oh, there's the south, and we'll choose this. Which weight do you want here? Yeah, it just sticks with the 7-pin. But there is a Tempai on the right, and Vinny has not declared the Ricci.
They could. Oh, let's see here. It is,
Home.
well,
Home for
I
6-9 or 5-8. Chooses the 5-8.
I guess the reason why Vinny is not declaring Ricci here is because the weight is the door and just the door.
Ricci.
Now that a
Or
player
you
has
just-
opened twice, is willing to call this.
Probably just to be like, okay, well they're getting shorthanded at this point, so maybe I'll get it after all.
Yeah, there are some value upgrades for Vinny there. You can draw into Tanyao. You can draw the 6-mon for Tanyao Anti-Peiko. Of course, the 5-8 mon would also lead to different weights, but with Tanyao.
So just looking at the chat, somebody was saying, well, why not use the 8-pin over the 7-pin? And they're saying, well, there's more tiles there. And I think for me personally, this goes back to the idea of like, what's the better weight actually, right? Because, you know, there have been many an example of people being like, my son Menchan weight lost to this stupid Kanchan weight. And usually it's because, like, even if the weight is good, either the weight is somewhat obvious, and people can and people are able to sidestep it. So there that goes. And there's definitely door 2 there, but to me that's the reason why, is because of the fact that you know, people sometimes those types of weights are either unexpected or seem low probability that it ends up getting paid off in a way.
Yeah, and I personally, in that situation, I probably wouldn't even have taken the Tonki weight, but if I am taking a Tonki weight, oh, I guess I forgot the 6-pin won't happen, but if I am taking Tonki weight, I would have actually taken the 8-pin weight for the reason of there are probably more tiles on the wall, even if they are less likely to come out. But I could certainly understand the idea of, if anyone draws the 7-pin, it will deal in.
All right, so all last here in the final game.
And Vinny, as dealer, you don't want to see a bunch of people calling, but you do have a brilliant Ishanten. Just, can you draw into Tempai before someone wins this hand? Kevin on the right, pushing for Honitsu, wants to steal first place away here. Manga and Sumo would tie for first, actually. So, Chun Chanta? Honitsu would be Mangan. You could also get Dora in there as well. We have a Ricci.
That's the worst person you want to see get Tempai.
Yeah.
If you're Vinny.
It's so tough. Fortunately for Vinny, he's got 3 of the weights.
Well, having discarded the Formon, it's like he's fairly safe at this point.
Tempai on the 7-mon. Actually, Kevin has Tempai on Dora, held weight Dora.
Oh dear.
Fortune,
This is gonna end.
Honitsu, Dora,
This is gonna
Chata.
end badly. This is gonna end badly for somebody. I just don't know who.
This is a Hanuman. Oh, three Mon. That's not good. Dodge with the 6. Gambutsu to the reach. Well, the first Richi, not the dealer Richi. Perhaps, depending on how these calls worked out, perhaps the 6 came out after I wasn't paying attention. Where's the 7 Mon? There are still 2 left in the wall. 3 Mon all being held. There's the Dora! It's twice cut, and it comes out!
Oh no!
We're gonna have Gyakuten in all last. Kevin robbing it away with a Hanuman. Turns out, doesn't matter if it's a Hellweight, if the tile comes out. And Kevin, 52,000 points in first place, 37.6 points for this one. Kevin will be climbing up in the standings after this series. Nathan, still positive, even after Hanuman Dealer in all last, plus 11.6. This seems to be Nathan's MO. Play really well and finish in second place. Vinny, negative 15.9 in this one. Jackson taking the fourth, negative 33.3. And I cannot wait to see these updated standings. As we have completed the series, it is Nathan and Kevin neck and neck, third and fourth place overall in the standings. Kevin does indeed pass David. And the difference in how they're getting here is amusing. Kevin with 7 first places to climb in the standings. Nathan with 9 second places. And it certainly was entertaining, this series. It really did feel a bit like a battle between those two. And they both ended up finishing with big positives over the course of the evening. I think Kevin perhaps won the most overall.
So, and then just to kind of circle back here, Vinny's stats are a little bit off because they filled in for a game. So that's why they showed a one extra game, and unfortunately, it counts in their standings, or it counts in their score. So I've kind of done the math in the background. They're sitting at minus 120. Oh crud! I forgot. I think it was 128.2 at this point. So that's kind of where they're standing at right now, and it is. There's going to be it's going to be a big road to try to catch up, to try to get in there. But just in terms of where they are, that's currently I believe they're at minus 128.2.
Yep, good to know, and hopefully we can have the standings reflect that at some point in the future. We can take a look at the big standings overall, as there were a couple other games happening in C1. Let's see, which table was that? It was James, Jason, Alan, and Tara who were playing, and we do have results from those tables. In game 1 of that series, Alan took the first place with plus 35.3. Jason, a positive second place, 7.9. Tara had a negative third, and James had a negative fourth in that one. And then in the second game of that series, it just finished a moment ago. Alan, another first place, plus 29.7. James took the positive second place, 11.7. Jason, a very small third, and Tara, the fourth place in that one. And so the standings that we can see now do have all of those games in, I believe. Or maybe the last game hasn't quite been updated for that series, but standings roughly accurate. And we can see Jason in the 6th place according to the standings as we see them. So lots of action in C1. I think they will be carrying on tomorrow as well. Oh, looks like tomorrow is B day. We have 2 B1 matches, 2 B2 matches, and 2 B3 matches scheduled for Thursday.
That is my match as well.
Oh, they are? Okay. Of course, it'll be entertaining. I don't know if we will have a cast scheduled for Thursday. I'll have to check with other commentator availability, but if we do, that certainly would be a fun one to get to see.
What, mine?
Well, yours, but also the B leagues in general. It looks like there's some very interesting races in B2 and B1. I think I remember seeing Oh, and also the B3 race is actually kind of fun as well because we have, of course, two professional players near the top of those standings. Yeah, I expect all of those games would be quite interesting to see. Of course, we wish you the best in your game, Edwin. Will you be playing 2 or 4 games
We're
tomorrow?
playing all four.
Okay. Yeah,
I'm just kind of happy that I haven't done what I've done in almost every other season up until this point and fallen flat on my face early.
well, I could certainly understand that feeling. I'm in a similar position. For once, I'm in the positives come week 4. It's a really nice feeling. Yeah, hopefully we both can carry it through all the way to the end of the season. Of course, you have something to fight for with multiple promotion slots. I gotta chase Korak down.
Yeah, I mean it's a bit weird to actually be fighting for promotion. Well, to be fighting for promotion this early, let's put it that way, because there have been times in which I've been fighting for promotion late in the season, but it's usually because I've finally like gotten myself out of the hole and have somehow gotten myself somewhat close to promotion range. That's another thing to be where I am at right now, where I'm actually sitting in a promotion spot.
Yeah, would you say that there's any particular reason why for the difference this season? Is it a playstyle change, or maybe in your trip to Japan you discovered something and
I think it's less that and just more of the fact that I just got so much work in over there, and I guess to continue talking about my trip over there, got beat up so much that it kind of, I guess, for lack of a better analogy, like it just built calluses. I don't want to. You could take the Calvin and Hobbes route and take the dad as a built character, but um, just getting, I guess, just getting beaten over and over again actually finally had some purpose in the end.
well, I imagine the competition was very difficult uh, during that trip.
Well, it was to some extent. I think the other thing is that uh, there was a lot of mental stuff I had to get over.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah,
Specifically,
Mahjong
go
in
ahead.
general can be a very mental game, but you were gonna say,
I mean, for me specifically, just with my own philosophy on it,
hmm
um, I think mental has a lot to do with it. For the longest time, I could not get my head out of my ass to actually play the kind of play style that my normal play style to play over there. Um, Mostly because of like thinking I was being judged or just not being confident enough to do it or insecure or however you want to call it.
hmm
And it finally took me meeting my friend who's the pro over there to kind of help me get situated for the get entry into the Mahjong Masters, who finally just like kind of helped me snap out of it. But by then it was like 3 weeks, 4 weeks into the trip, and I just kind of beat myself up over that. It's like, why can't you get your head out of your ass and actually play like the way you wanted to? You said you were going to do that when you flew in. Why can't you do it? And it's just like, I just couldn't figure it out for the longest time.
well,
But then when I did, it actually, I actually finally started showing some results. And um, but yeah, eventually, as I got to the point where it was just like, okay, you being intimidated or trying to play normally is getting you nothing but negative scores. So how much worse can it get
yeah,
to actually play the weird style that you play? And it's like not much.
yeah. I mean, that's a good point. I know if I were to be sitting at a table with 3 professional players who I've watched on M League or have seen in the JPML leagues and people who I know are strong players, people who I respect their mahjong, it's certainly going to be intimidating trying to go up against that. Eh,
Well, no, playing against. Okay, so here's the thing: playing against the professional players was never an issue.
oh,
It was playing against the average Japanese person.
interesting.
And even more so was was playing in the dojo, which is actually the JPML dojo is probably the easiest for any foreigner to get into.
Hmm.
But for me personally, even if it was easy for me to get in to play there, I probably had felt the most intimidated there by the regulars that were there,
Interesting.
because I kept on feeling like they were judging me every game I played against some of the very very hardened regulars who were there, and some of the ones who I knew because I've seen them on stream for JPL as well.
Mm.
Um,
But in
when I
the
played it, when I played at the Octagon, which is the other place, but you have to know a little bit more Japanese to actually get in there. Like in there, it was less so.
Mhm.
But yeah, it was playing against the average Japanese person was actually where I couldn't get the head out of my ass
Well,
the most.
in the end, you managed to finish with some really good results. Would you have any advice for someone who's going over to Japan and visiting the dojo on just how to stay in the game mentally?
I mean, the no duh advice is just don't get into your head, don't be a mental case like I am.
Well, yeah, that's
Um,
true.
you know,
What about for someone
I
like me who actually would get too deep in the mental?
who would not.
Who would?
Um,
I
real
definitely feel like I tend to be over cerebral sometimes when I play.
if you are,
Yeah.
it's gonna be hard because even for me when I decided to go over there, I gave myself 2 extra weeks or 2 weeks before the amateur qualifiers to try to get situated playing in Japan. And this is despite the fact that I had played in Japan several times in the past
Hmm.
before in prior trips. Um, the first thing you have to get used to is generally the fast pace of play, because whether you're at the Octagon or you're at the dojo, if you're not playing for money at the rate parlors, you're playing on an automatic table, but you're playing 50-minute hanshans.
Right.
50 minutes even on an auto table is fast. Um, so you have to get used to the pace of play. Um, Again, if you are the mental case that I am, then you have to ignore some of the mannerisms of some of the regulars over there, because they'll you'll wonder whether or not they're sighing, or their some of the reactions, or whether or not they're just either frustrated with the tiles, or just you wonder if they're exasperated because of you, etc.,
Mm.
etc. Wouldn't worry about it.
So it helps to be a
Well,
little bit more
it's
aloof.
it helps. It helps to be more ignorant of that type of stuff. Let's put it that way.
Sure.
Um, but again, I'm a mental case, so I'm sure most other people who go over there just don't care about that.
Well, all in all,
Um,
I'm definitely going to be excited just to be there and have some very challenging games, but they'll definitely be fun. Win or loss, if and when I ever make my way out there, I certainly will try my best to enjoy it.
yeah, and it's again like just the level of play over there is just average higher, but you'd expect that given the fact that there's so many chances out there.
Did you notice anything
Um,
stylistically different in the play, specifically while you were there this recently, compared to what we see in Armel?
mm, to be honest, not really. And the reason why is because I think I think even the average Japanese person understands about maybe being more aggressive on the table.
Hmm.
Um, Certainly, they play defense, and they won't pay in unnecessarily, really. But um, I think what some people might look at over here with our play is that people might end up being a little bit more aggressive. But once you get to the point that you're aggressive and still cognizant of all the fundamentals and
Hmm.
everything, then that's why I think that's probably why I think probably more Americans if you're at that point, would be able to fit in nicely over there.
Hmm.
Um, but you have to, if you try to throw in all the other stuff about playing at a table with other Japanese people, and then um, you have to make your announcements of scores in Japanese, so you can get a little bit tripped up that way as you're trying to think about, okay, what's 2,000, 4,000, what's, or whatever.
Note to self: learn Nissan Yonsen,
Yeah, pretty much.
and then only go for Mangan hands.
um, those types of things. Um, you know, quickly like figuring out how to deal with exchange points, and put them away, because I was never good at doing that.
Mm.
After I made, if I want a hand and I was grabbing points and trying to put them in my tray and everything, it's like, that's again this time being wasted, right? Whereas you look at the Japanese, they somehow are able to do that fairly easily.
Yeah, and of course, auto tables are becoming more and more common in the US, but I still have yet to play on one, so I'm eagerly awaiting my first try. I will hopefully get a little bit of practice
But yeah,
handling
I
all that
mean,
aspect.
I guess in terms of just like in terms of playstyle of what to expect over there, I mean, like I said, I would just expect to. It's probably be just what you expect, like people who are more fundamentally sound for the most part, and but who can make those decisions faster, and who can probably be a little bit more aggressive because they have the fundamentals down um, fairly well, so they can kind of like uh, lean in more into the aggressiveness.
Mm. Well, that being said,
Yeah.
I was following you a little bit on your Twitter as you were going through your travels, and it certainly was fun to hear about it on the stream. Um, any final thoughts on the trip before we wrap things up for the broadcast?
I don't. I mean, I just kind of mentioned. I mean, if you followed my Twitter, you'd see how frustrating it was just to
Mm.
get beaten down over and over again, and again to be the head case that I am. Um, just making me somewhat discouraged in a way. Um, and once I finally got my head out of my ass, as it were, I keep on saying that things finally ended up becoming fine, and something must have carried over, because if you look at the table there, it's like somehow, first of all, somehow I'm in the promotion range already,
Mm-hmm.
and second of all, I'm doing it kind of with the playstyle that I normally do, which you can kind of get a small hint of here, because a somehow I have the highest win rate in the league, but I'm doing it with a lower win average, and my win and deal and average are reversed basically,
Yeah,
and my call and reach rate are pretty much on par roughly, other than the fact that like I've now like at least reverted back to league average in terms of participation, but the breakdown of it is significantly different.
yeah,
Where I think I
13.1%
have,
Ricci.
yeah, somehow it's the third lowest, not even the lowest. It's the third lowest in the league. Um, so it seems to have worked out in that sense, but like again, I think a lot of it was just me getting beaten up over and over again,
All right.
and just having just going from there.
So I'll just remember, if I want to improve at Mahjong, I just need to keep getting beaten up over and over again. Definitely makes me
Sort
feel
of.
better about my recent ladder results, I'll tell you that much. That's just
I mean,
training.
it's tough. I mean, like they always say it's like you're not going to get better unless you play better players, and
Mm.
when you play better players, you're obviously not going to win most of your times. Like you're not going to win most of your games anyways, just because of the nature of mahjong. But playing against stronger people is just means that you're just going to that probability of winning those games is significantly less.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
so at that point, it's just like, okay, well, what can you take out of it? I mean, hell, outside of the mental aspect of it, when somebody asks me, so well, how come you're able to do this right? How come I'm able to do this right now, currently in this season? It's like the answer is I actually don't know. Like, if it's only the mental part of it, then I can easily explain that. But like, if you're talking about like my actual play, like I have no idea. And I think from the talks that going behind the scenes, the fact that I've first of all, I play this particular play style that I'm doing now. I only really leaned into um, the summer season of last year, which is July. So this isn't even a full year of it. And in that time, I've spent many a day talking to you, kind of going through my playstyle and actually trying to instead of just saying, I don't know, I just kind of do this, is to actually try to figure out like, well, why am I doing this?
Right.
What's the reason for me doing this? And I think as I've slowly figured out why my playstyle is the way it is and what the goals are to accomplish, I'm sure that's certainly helped. But specifically for like, how is it that I've gotten to the point where I'm actually fighting for a promotion slot in B1? Um, I it's just hard to say. I don't know if it's something that will just click in somebody, because that's terrible advice to give to somebody. Because it's just like, well, what does that mean? Um, so I think that's still something I still have to kind of go back and look at, is like, what was it exactly about that trip, if it wasn't just the mental aspect of it that allowed me to kind of pull in the numbers that I did here. Because I mean, I guess my numbers last season could have been the same way if we just taken out the first couple of rounds where I was kind of like artificially trying to turn the volume up to 11 of my playstyle. I think we went through the numbers on that. So this could have easily just been a continuation of that. And really, this is just kind of like what the numbers were, last season if you just took out those weeks. But it's just hard to say, because you don't really, you can read all the books you want to, and you can understand all the concepts you want to, and you certainly need to do that to build the foundation
Right.
for being a good player. Because if you don't have a good foundation, then nothing else matters. But then it comes down to like what you feel comfortable doing, because in this particular case, when I was kind of insecure at the beginning of my trip, I tried to play more quote unquote normally. But I know that like I haven't like whenever I've tried to do that in the past, it hasn't quite worked out, and I just am not good at doing that. So then it becomes a matter of figuring out what's more comfortable for you, and then trying to refine that, and as long as it's something that is still relatively fundamentally sound. Like, because if something's comfortable for you that's not fundamentally sound at all, that's a bit on the iffy side. But if you can figure out something like a style that works for you that's still in that realm of being fundamentally sound, that's probably the best. Because I've never prescribed to being the 100% digital person. Although, from what I just said, if you are most comfortable being 100% digital, then all the more power to you, because that's what you feel comfortable most playing, right?
Right.
But I would imagine not everybody is that way. Everybody has their own idiosyncrasies to them. And no, I don't necessarily say that like the whole Sanzo thing is something that's fundamentally sound. So sorry. But if there's something about your play that you might think is not necessarily standard, but it works for you, then see if you can. It doesn't hurt necessarily to try to see if you can find out what that is. Kind of just find a way to describe it if you can't, and then refine it, and then see if it works. I mean, it's. I'm still trying to figure out if this works for me. It looks like it is, because like the first couple of seasons, I was just trying to do the normal stuff, and it wasn't working out for me. Like in the beta league, I ended up starting at the. I started at the bottom division. I think I started in the bottom division, and I just couldn't put any results together, and I was trying to play quote unquote normally. So I think like life is just more of a way of you trying to figure out where you're, what your place is, how comfortable you are, and finding a place that kind of works for you.
Mm.
Um, but at the same time, just understand that, you know, if I relate to mahjong to like life, then not everything is ever going to go your way. And I think and it's a mental thing, but like eventually I just got to the point where it's like I got so used to losing that it just didn't matter anymore.
Mm.
I didn't, I don't, even now, I don't, ever since I've been back, I just never had the salt that I might have had before.
Yeah, I know some other players talk about the tilt management in mahjong and how important it is, and how much that mental side of things can affect your play, even if you're not really feeling the effect of it. It still can show up. But yeah, absolutely. Well,
So
thanks for all those insights from the journey and from sort of philosophies of mahjong. And
it's certainly, my philosophy is certainly not standard. I don't think it is.
but I think the idea
I,
of finding, building your fundamental base, finding where you feel comfortable, and if you do something non-standard, trying to work out exactly why it is that you do this thing, and if you can lean into it in such a way that you can make use of it, even if that involves like hearing someone else's opinion on what you're trying to do to help you figure out yourself what you're trying to do. I know there's lots of people in the league who are interested in working with people to figure that sort of thing out, myself included. Um, can be very useful, as you said, refining your own play style once you have that fundamental base. Certainly can help uh, give you some direction with how you want to be, how you want your final play style to be. So definitely very, very useful information. But yeah, that being said, we have watched all of the Mahjong games of the evening. We have run this certainly long enough, and I think it's time to make sure that everyone is aware that the summer season for the American Ricci Mahjong League is going to start very soon. We are only a couple weeks away, well, I guess a few weeks away. The registration for the summer season does end June 19th. So if you do want to participate in the summer season, make sure that you are signed up before that point, and then the actual season will begin about a week after that 19th deadline.
it'll start on July 3rd. So
Perfect.
you can pretty much count the seasons by the quarter, basically.
That works out very well then. Of course, the registration for that is on our website, americanricci.org. That'll be the first thing you see when you sign up there. Of course, the league is incredibly fun to be a part of and to be able to broadcast. It was so much fun doing that with you tonight, Edwin. I know you post frequently on, or every now and then on the American Ricci Twitter page whenever we go live. And of course, the broadcasts, if you follow us on Twitch, you will be alerted whenever we go live as well. Our previous broadcasts are always available at tinyurl.com/ARMOYT. We have tons and tons of content from previous seasons if you'd like to see how the league has grown over the course of, well, almost a year and a half now. You can check out some of our old broadcasts on that YouTube channel. That being said, it's been a really fun evening. We have a stream every Wednesday, so you can guarantee next week, Wednesday evening, we will be broadcasting, and we might have a couple extra broadcasts throughout the week. I heard there's a big busy schedule tomorrow, so there's a chance that we might even be broadcasting as soon as tomorrow evening. So be sure to have followed us to make sure that you know if we do indeed go live. Well, for Edwin, this has been Nathaniel, thanking you for watching and hoping to see you in another future broadcast of the American Ricci Mahjong League. Have a good night, everybody.
Have a good night, everyone.